A win, act surprised. And if you're looking for work, this is a metaphor. For more tips on sticking out in a world where just too much blends into the blah, 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 hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Hewlett-Packard is known for their basic, no-frills computers, but that doesn't mean they can't keep up with the latest technology. In a press release yesterday, HP said, quote, "We are excited to begin offering that cloud thing that everyone is talking about. We definitely have the cloud on our computers, and it is better than anyone else's cloud." Earlier today, I sat down with HP spokesman Gary Klinman, who said the company couldn't wait to show people, quote, how they do their cloud stuff.
We are absolutely thrilled that now people with computers or phones, both will now be able to back things up to the cloud.
Klinman says it isn't surprising they're, quote, up on the cloud, considering they're on the cutting edge of all the latest tech trends. Are there any additional features?
Crowdsourcing is something we are having. Crowdsourcing 2.0. We have social sharing. We have 5G, 6G, really all the Gs. We have app. We have all of it in the computer.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, the live Saturday edition of the show. Open phones, as always, where you can take control of the airwaves. Toll free. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And live Saturday show with me, Ian.
Some guy.
And Mark.
And so, once again, there's been another national election.
Wait. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. Can I give everybody the big election news?
What is it?
It's Nine Inch Nails, the Doobie Brothers, T-Rex, and Notorious B.I.G. have all been elected to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, I thought you were going to say there was going to be an awesome concert.
No, they've all first ballot, first time on the ballot. They've all been elected. I mean, that's got to affect Americans all over.
That's good news. It would be better news if they were all playing a concert together, though, because concerts are basically no longer a thing. In fact, I have news about concerts. They've done a study over in Germany about how people can go back to concerts safely.
Oh, boy.
So if we get a chance, we can talk about that. There's not much, I don't think, to say about the election. We've talked about it throughout the week. Various different.
Oh, good. I've missed it all.
Yeah, various
Great.
different ballot measures that passed, and I'll say it again. I've said it every day. This is the biggest news of the year. The biggest news of the year is not some national election. It's Oregon decriminalizing drugs. Small personal possession of drugs, like Portugal did back in the year 2000. So finally, the United States has an experiment in that way, and I think that's going to be a big deal.
I've heard parts of the show throughout the week, and I've read the show notes, but I didn't see a whole lot of talking about how absolutely inept the government is at counting.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I mean, I think that is the news out of the election is that, I mean, hold on. We're supposed to trust you all?
No, God, why would you do that?
Well, that's what people think, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
people think.
there are liberals posting dancing videos because the media has said that Joe Biden won.
Sure. Now, there's not actually an official result.
Right. This is not a certified, result or anything like that. It's just like, yay! Somebody told me what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. There's a lot of, celebrations going on. We even heard fireworks going off
There are
outside.
people lighting fireworks because their favorite crooked old pervert got in the office.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, no matter who wins or won, the people are going to lose. So,
yeah, I mean, we see that clearly. Whoever wins, we lose. We get that. The government's going to get bigger no matter whether it would be Donald Trump or Joe Biden. It would become more oppressive. It arguably might be a little worse during Biden because his vice president is a cop. And, the odds are if Biden croaks or gets assassinated while he's there, then that lady is going to take over.
Is that Camel Toe Harris?
Uh-huh. That's her.
They're already saying that, he's this whole election thing's been a little too much for him, so he's taking it easy. So, it started. They may not even let him take the oath of office.
You guys know a lot more about sort of the inner workings of the election process, and I actually had a question for you. You guys are familiar with Larkin Rose, right?
Sure.
So he wrote
He's
an
activist, libertarian.
and an author. He wrote a thing that says the legislatures choose the electors who choose the president. And so, like, these electors could just ignore the actual general election and
in theory, they could.
And just choose the president, because there's nothing
They're
in the Constitution
supposed to be bound, and
I
think they're bound.
That says that, you know, the people need to vote. It says that these electors.
Yeah, I don't know if it's different.
I was curious if you guys knew, like.
It might be different in each state. I'm not sure what the rules are about that. You know, they maybe are supposed to be bound, but there may not be any actual penalty if they vote differently. So that'd be a question for, you know, some kind of election guru like a Darrell W. Perry. I bet he would know right off the
They're
top of his
bound.
head.
They have to
Really?
do. Yes, they have to do as they say. At least, yeah, they have to.
I've got a bit of what he wrote. It says the general public does not. The Constitution, under the Constitution, state legislatures choose the electors who choose the president. Right. The general public does not.
That's right.
Feel free to look it up. There's no mention in the Constitution of people voting for the president. None. That's
right, and that's all true. And one of the things, so you know, Republicans will vociferously defend the Electoral College right now because it's benefited them recently.
Right.
And could have benefited them this particular election. But they also want to see some kind of standardization on a national level. And you can't have both. So either it's a state election for electors who then go and vote for president, and the states determine how that election process goes.
Right.
So it was as I thought.
It's a national election, and then it should be it should be people voting on it from a national level. But you can't have your cake and eat it too.
So, Mark, you're incorrect, or partially correct. There is a mix. So, according to fairvote.org, there is no federal law that requires electors to vote as they have pledged. But 29 states and the District of Columbia have legal control over how their electors vote in the Electoral College.
The District of Columbia has electors?
I have no idea. Just what it says. This means their electors are bound by state law and or by state or party pledge to cast their vote for the candidate that wins the statewide popular vote. At the same time, this also means that there are 21 states in the union that have no requirements of or legal control over their electors. Therefore, despite the outcome of a state's popular vote, the state's electors are ultimately free to vote in whatever manner they please, including an abstention, with no legal repercussions. The states with legal control over their electors, then they give the list. New Hampshire is not one of them. So New Hampshire electors can vote however they want.
So this says to me that, let's say, you know, I mean, this will never happen, but let's say New Hampshire voted 100% for candidate X. Right?
In this case, they voted, the people voted for Biden in New Hampshire.
And the elector could just go, no, I'll go for Trump.
They could, but as I understand it, these electors are party people, right?
Yeah.
Like they are signed by the Republican and Democrat parties. And so they would be breaking from their party tradition, but they could, in theory, do that.
I think historically, like in the 80s, one elector voted for a libertarian one time. And therefore...
Oh, yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah.
But, so, I mean, I thought that they had to vote...
But it was a surprise to me that here we have all this hubbub about, you know, everybody must vote, and then there's like another subset of people that complain about the Electoral College and how unfair it is and all that kind of thing. And then there's this whole other thing where there's no actual written requirement in the Constitution that says the people decide who the president is. It's these electors.
Well, one thing you have to understand is that people think of the United States as a country, and it is not. It is not a state. It is a federation of states. And it was set up as such. It was set up with the idea that New Hampshire and New York and North Carolina were all sovereign states, and they were in a federation dealing with each other, and that's how it was going to be. So there was no, this whole president ruling over them kind of thing. It wasn't that big of a deal. And you'll see whenever that presidents before Lincoln all tended to be pretty weak presidents. There's certainly some notable ones, but nonetheless, the president doesn't have that much sort of legal power. The federal government, with the Federal Reserve being able to hand out money to states, is now much more powerful than it used to be.
Yeah, over time it grew into this behemoth that we now know and.
But it's a United States. Now, I understand they say "we the people" in the Constitution, but the word is United states. And that means that, yeah, it should be states that have the power in this federation, not people.
It would really tickle my funny bone to see that actually be the case, to have a reduction in the power of the federal government, such as that it doesn't exist, and allow the states to be just that, individual countries.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. Was I don't really care about the election results, because to me, one thug's just another thug. But ultimately, to encourage people to consider the idea of declaring independence from the United States. Some people would use the word secession, although some folks think that's a bad word because it's got a bunch of baggage associated with it.
Yeah.
But that's the idea that I wanted to discuss. And just to be clear, 4 years ago at this same time frame, we discussed secession when Trump was elected as well.
Yeah, and here's the question that I have is why in the world should these people who voted for Trump have to live under Biden's rule, and vice versa? Mm-hmm. Why should people who voted for Hillary Clinton have to live under Trump?
Why should a guy who doesn't vote have to live under anybody?
Exactly. Toll-free number, 855-450-FREE. So we'll get into the idea of secession, and you can share your thoughts. You can take control of the airwaves here. The live Saturday edition. This is Free Talk Live.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
Every year, over 1 million fires burn in America. Fortunately, firefighters are on the job, saving life and property, and you can be a part of it. 7 out of 10 firefighters and emergency responders are volunteers. There's no typical firefighter. Anyone can volunteer to serve their community. Volunteering as a first responder is really about having the heart and drive to make a difference where it's needed most. Your community needs you. Are you ready to answer the call? Learn more and find local volunteer opportunities at makemeafirefighter.org.
Bear, the rescue dog, had very flaky skin, dropping a lot of fur, and Levette wanted to do steroid injections. I was at a dead end.
DINOVITE.com.
Probably 6 weeks after we started using Dinovite, no more flaky skin. He doesn't scratch and itch. It was awesome.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
Every rescue dog in America deserves Dinovite for 90 days.
DINOVITE.com.
Divi's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divi's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DiviProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DiviProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DiviProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Free Talk Live.
There's going to be no food by February.
Oh, that seems a little extreme. I find that hard to believe.
Well, watch it happen. Hope you find Christ.
Oh, good luck, buddy. Thanks.
What really turned me away from religion was the fact that most of them are so intolerant and nasty.
What do you mean?
Your life will suck unless you find Jesus. Well, I had Jesus a long time ago, and he didn't really do anything for me, so I got away from that.
Right, and I can tell you that if you want to have that attitude with people, like, well, you better find Christ, or you're going to burn in hell.
Yeah.
Then
good luck converting people.
Yeah, I really want to hang out with people like you, there, Keith. I really want to hang out with people like you. So I'm sorry to those good Christians out there listening that aren't like Keith. But it's the loudmouths like Keith that do real damage to your religion and how people feel about it.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Dial in, toll free here. The number's 855-450-FREE. Secession, once again, might be on the lips of a few folks around the United States, and we're hoping to make it a topic of conversation that is more common. And that was my hope 4 years ago when Trump was elected. It is my hope now that Biden is ostensibly going to be elected, and so we're going to get deeper into that subject.
If at first you don't secede, try again.
But first, we're going to go to your phone calls and your thoughts, although I do want you to know about Bitcoin.com. Bitcoin is on a real rise up over the last, month, 2 months or something like that? The whole year, actually. It's been, I think I read earlier.
It's been a good year.
Yeah, it was up 100% over the last year.
I was waiting for it to come back down under 10 grand.
Yeah.
But no.
It could
had to go
happen.
the other way. And
It could happen again.
Bitcoin's going to give you more freedom than Biden or Trump ever will.
Oh,
no
indeed.
doubt. Those people are not promising freedom. They are tyrants who are going to take away more freedoms. That's what presidents do. And that's what all of the so-called representatives and the senators do. So the further we can get away from Washington, D.C. politically, the better off we'll all be.
Well, and there's been a lot of talk about separation of church and state historically.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the conversation about separating money and state is the most important conversation
for now,
for this generation at least, because I think if that can happen, we will see an increase in our personal freedoms.
And arguably already have, just because of the existence of Bitcoin and its competitors like Bitcoin Cash, which you ought to go and learn about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Just go to bitcoin.com and go to the Get Started area, and you can watch maybe a 2 or 3 minute long introductory video. There's a few other videos there if you'd like to get deeper into the subject, but spend 10 minutes and go and check out bitcoin.com. Also, they have a news site over at news.bitcoin.com, so check that out too. They've got the latest headlines there from across the world in regards to cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Let's go to the phones to your calls and thoughts. Jerome is on the line in Charleston, South Carolina. Hello, Jerome.
So glad to hear from you, Jerome.
The king is dead. Long live the king. Hear ye, hear ye.
Meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Long live the king. The king is dead. Long live the king. It takes a while for me to be right, but I'm kind of on the persistent side. And once I get hold of something, I'm not going to let it go till I'm right. And it took a couple of years because I never accepted this guy.
Are you taking credit for this election?
Look, I'm a persistent person.
I appreciate persistence.
I appreciate hubris.
Now, when you say you weren't right before, but you are right now, what is it you're talking about?
Look, this guy shouldn't have never been in that job in the White House, man. And this disaster that's going on proves it, man. Over 200,000. Hey, wait a minute.
Wait, over 200. What?
Oh, he's talking about the deaths.
Over 200,000 people. Hey, and that's not all. This week, who tested positive? His own chief of staff and 5 more people in the White House.
So you think it's government's job to prevent you from getting disease?
Let me ask you this. How many
Well,
more
answer my
people
question
does he
first.
need
No, I'm not going to let you
go
ask
ahead.
me a question. You answer my question first. Is it government's job to prevent you from becoming ill?
No, I don't think it's their job. But, look, Dr. Fauci told everyone what needs to be done, and he refused. He's been warning people for months, and the man at the top refused to listen. He said doctors are idiots until he got it. and then they put 25 doggone doctors around him to make sure he didn't die.
How is it that one doctor can
tell? A lot
tell?
of people not going to get.
How is it that one doctor can tell 300 and however many million people are in the United States what to do to protect themselves?
He was giving out advice, trying to help people, okay? He did all he could. You can't make people...
There's plenty of doctors out there that were saying other things. This is the difficulty with this whole situation is that for some reason, Fauci, this one guy, has been held up as the end-all, be-all.
America's doctor.
By basically the Democratic Party. And I think it's because he has said, it seems to me that the reason is the Democrats want everything to go poorly under Trump. And that way, and Fauci obviously, wants the worst possible scenario. He doesn't mind shutting down the entire economy. He's got plenty of money. He doesn't have to work.
Look, see, that's where you're wrong, see, because you're saying we're the ones giving him a hard time. The man out of his own mouth said he likes chaos. He likes disasters. Look what he's got now.
Who said this?
He's going to leave this Trump. Yeah, he likes chaos. He likes it, okay?
But he always talks about law and order. Where did he say he liked chaos?
Look, he's the biggest two-faced hypocrite there is.
Well, of course he is. He's a politician.
People spying on his campaign and all that garbage. Man, come on.
So, Jerome, were you out dancing in the streets tonight?
Or were you hiding from Biden?
Hey, this is one black man never had any rhythm, okay? Whenever I had a girlfriend, she saw me dancing one time. She couldn't stop laughing. Okay? So I kind of gave that up.
That's funny. Right?
Dancing or singing, no.
What do you think, Jerome? I want your prediction. What do you think Trump's going to do on the way out? If as a lame duck president with 3 months to go, what's he going to do?
Create more chaos. Hey, he might put another 10 people on the Supreme Court. Who knows? He might stack. He might stack us. So no matter what Biden does, it's going to be all rigged. Hey, but you know what? He tried to rig the Supreme Court, but he couldn't rig everything.
Now he has appointed three at least for Supreme Court people
and 200 federal court justices.
So isn't it true that the Trump administration has sued over this election? They're filing lawsuit on Monday morning or something like that.
Yeah. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Not going to work.
We'll see.
For all the people in Charleston who tried to silence me like a guy named Charlie James, like that song I was listening to today, I pulled up on my phone. How you like me now?
Thank you, Jerome, for the call tonight. I appreciate hearing from
Jerome.
You. Thank you. I appreciate that. The toll-free number is 855-450. Free is always entertaining.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with gloating when your horse wins the race, but to me, the one thing I can say about this is that I would like to see presidents change out every 4 years. And the reason is because...
I'd like to see them disappear.
If Trump were to... well, they're not going to. If Trump...
What if I think real hard?
No.
What if I vote harder?
Vote all you'd like. If Trump had gotten another... time in office, there's no way for him to really be affected by the voters. There's no... there's nothing that anybody can do to hold him accountable. And that, of course, was true for Obama and his final four and those sorts of things. So I can say I kind of like that part.
I have a suggestion for what Mr. Trump can do on his way out. That's, of course, the pardoning.
Burn the place down?
Well, the pardoning, right?
Pardon Julian Assange, pardon Ross Ulbricht, pardon all nonviolent drug offenders.
Ed Snowden.
Most of those are probably very unrealistic, but maybe he'll do Assange, Well, I think Assange probably has the best chances of all of them.
He's the one who needs it the most.
Somebody email Trump a copy of this show.
It's getting tortured.
I would say Ross Ulbricht needs it.
He needs it too, but
there's a lot of people that are wasting away in federal prison. Also, he could withdraw the troops from Afghanistan, which he promised he was going to do by Christmas time. Yeah. So hopefully he will follow through on that.
So when we brought him home, we didn't realize that Bear, the rescue dog, was actually sick. He had very flaky skin. He was dropping a lot of fur, and Levette wanted to do steroid injections, special dog food. Nothing seemed to work, so I was at a dead end.
DINOVITE.com.
I've been hearing Dinovite on the radio for years. It never actually crossed my mind to try it until it finally sunk in. Oh, you're talking about hair and skin. And, all right, I'll try it. Well, it took probably 6 weeks, but after we started using Dinovite, no more flaky skin. He doesn't scratch and itch, and he started to put weight on.
Dinovite is nutrition.
I wish that we would have started the Dinovite right away. It would have been so much easier.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
Every rescue dog in America deserves Dinovite for 90 days.
DINOVITE.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Whoa.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running from me? Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You dial in, toll free here. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. You can also call us on our Matrix chat server. That's where Free Talk Live listeners can go to chat with one another basically around the clock. You can go to chat.lrn.fm to get the step-by-step instructions on how to join that server. And with you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
The Reverend Captain Kickass is here.
And Mark.
And, of course, you can bring up whatever you want. We're going to go back to your phone calls and thoughts. And then when we get the chance, we'll tell you about the idea of secession. It's an idea whose time has, well, it's come a long time ago. We were just talking about it again.
It keeps coming.
Tonight. Yeah, it's high time that somebody actually, some state actually go forward with this. I mean, as much as I would love for individuals to be able to secede, we're probably not there yet. So if we can do it at a state level, that'd be a good start.
It's kind of like emancipating yourself from your parents, declaring yourself a sentient being, and no longer is it necessary for you to be under the control of somebody else.
We can take care of ourselves. Thanks. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Bye-bye. Of course, that would not quite be an accurate analogy because the federal government didn't create the states. It was the other way around. The state governments came together, as you mentioned earlier, as a federation, essentially, and created the United States. Unfortunately, they didn't write in a line in there about how to get out. They kind of left that part out. They forgot about it. So again, the Constitution, not a perfect document. Obviously, it's not perfect. It has either authorized the tyranny that we have today, or it was powerless to prevent it. Either way, it is not. It should not exist.
Right. It certainly should have had something in there about a central bank, because honestly,
about not having one, you mean?
Well, something. It should be clear what it is, because this is the way the federal government controls states. The federal government only has like 4 things that it's allowed to do: the military, post roads, weights and measures,
and money.
What's that?
And money.
Well, money's weights and measures. There's another thing that's not coming to mind, but I'm sure I could dig it up. But basically, all the laws that they have and all the things that they do, they only can get away with because they hand out a bunch of free money to states, and the states are therefore beholden to them in so many ways. And if that is the linchpin, the Federal Reserve, and its ability to create money. And it bears repeating every single day on the air here. In 1942, when they were fighting World War II and they wanted people to support the war effort, they told them to buy war bonds.
Mm-hmm.
When George Bush in 2002 or 2003 was asked by a reporter how Americans could support the Iraq war effort, he said, "Go shopping." Now, something happened between 1942 and 2002 that caused this obvious change in the monetary system. That's the Bretton Woods Accords, but whatever. You don't need to know that. What you need to know is that the government creates money out of thin air. And it's not even the government. It's a quasi-governmental union of banks.
They've outsourced it.
Yeah. And it isn't going to get better while we sit here and fight over which crooked old pervert gets to take the office.
Exactly. So you want to comment? We're going to your phone calls and thoughts. Jan is up first in Texarkana, Texas. Hello, Jan.
Hello.
Hey, you're on the air.
Printing money, printing ballots. So they ran out of ballots in Wisconsin because Trump was winning, and so Fox News decided to say that Biden is president, that they elected themselves the Supreme Court of the land. I'm confused. Is this what they ran? Is that what happened?
Well, the Supreme Court doesn't make the decision. It's the Electoral College, right?
Well, I guess they put themselves in the place of the Electoral College and decided what was happening.
Really quick, to be fair, people drink a lot in Wisconsin. That's all I'm saying.
It wasn't just Fox News. The AP, CNN, a variety of news agencies have made the call.
Potato, tomato, same. That's like a prize fighter. They're in the middle of the fight, right? And the one fighter gets up and says, "Oh, I won." He grabs the microphone.
Yep.
Well, he better watch out because that right hook is coming. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It ain't over yet.
It is
that
not
much
over.
Is for sure.
That much is for sure. I wouldn't hang too much on it. Prepare yourself emotionally for a Biden presidency if that means anything to you. But
look how long they counted. I mean, this is ridiculous. They've been counting. I mean, they must have just been producing those ballots left and right because they've been counting, 2-3 days now? I mean, come on.
I love how Georgia's have stopped counting. Well, we can't handle this counting past 10.
Did
Are
Nevada
you crazy?
Did Nevada ever start counting, or are they still just waking up? I'm not sure. What I find ridiculous.
Is the Quaker there tonight? Is the Quaker
I am
there?
here, yes.
Yeah, he is here.
Oh, I'm still loving that oatmeal, baby. That is so good. Thank you. And I'm loving you guys, too.
I'll take credit for the oatmeal.
Thanks, Jan, for your call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you.
What I don't understand is why the federal government or all these state governments don't just adopt the American Idol vote counting system, because
How's that work?
They can count a couple million votes in like an hour.
Well,
is that phone voting or internet or something?
American Idol doesn't care if you have 2 phones and you text, your favorite singer.
Well, apparently
on 2
neither
phones.
does the government.
Well, I don't know.
At least according to
yes,
all the crap
I would
that
agree
I've
with
seen.
you. The government needs to come up with a better system for counting. But again, if you want a federal system for counting votes for the U.S. president, then you need to give up the notion of the Electoral College.
How old am I? 48? I've been around for 10, 12 elections, something like that. Something like that, right? So it seems to get worse every year. With the counting, right? Like there's always some hubbub about, I remember, was it Bush 1 or Bush 2, right? And the whole Florida debacle, and there were some other states involved that kind of had similar things going on. This year, it's been, Nevada, Michigan, Georgia, right? Those are the big ones that have passed through my feed as far as like some sort of a counting debacle. Michigan, Wisconsin, right? Some sort of counting debacle. It's not that hard to count votes. It's really not.
But
Everybody
it is
casts
government.
about-
It always takes more time and money, and they screw things up because governments are kind of crappy at pretty much everything that they do.
Yes,
but
they are.
yet
And
people keep believing in them.
And yet people want to trust them with things like healthcare.
Well,
they can't even count.
Most of the places that I have lived and voted, I've had confidence that the voting there was accurate.
Why?
Because I've watched it.
Oh, really?
I know how they do it. They got a big wooden
You
box.
watched it in Sarasota?
Not in Sarasota. I didn't get to vote in Sarasota.
I'm sorry, I thought you said most of the places.
I'm a convicted felon.
Oh, okay.
And
So
Florida
here in
doesn't
New
like
Hampshire.
me voting.
So here in New Hampshire.
But I immediately moved up to New Hampshire, and suddenly I could vote because, I don't know, reasons. And the town I lived in prior to where I live in New Hampshire now, or, stay in New Hampshire now, it had a big wooden box, and we put our ballots in there, and I'm really confident.
And you stayed and watched as they counted them.
I did.
Okay.
And I had a friend who has stayed and watched multiple times.
Well, apparently there were some places where people tried to come in and watch, and they weren't allowed. Not in New Hampshire, but in other
and that's
states.
not going to make you feel very good, is it?
There was another place where they had watchers, and the watchers were excused while the counting, quote, continued, unquote.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, now that's bizarre. And then there's been fist fights from watchers. Like, what's going on here exactly?
Well, what's going on is hopefully things are falling apart.
Well,
and hopefully things are people are becoming more divided.
I don't root for chaos.
Well, I'm not rooting for chaos. I'm just rooting for the destruction of the United States.
I'm not rooting for
as
that
a political concept.
So
I'm not talking about like burning buildings down. I'm talking about the end of the United States as a government, as a concept, to get rid of this crap. We don't need it anymore. We never did in the first place. It's always been a bad thing.
There's some really
whether it's the European Union.
No, ridiculous.
Centralization is bad.
Look, do you like the idea of stopping like 19 times if you drive from Maine to California? Do you like that idea? Do you want to be, bothered by bureaucrats? No, that is awful. We absolutely need.
I'll trade that for having a federal government that murders people all around the world. Yeah, in a heartbeat, I would trade that.
You think that some nation isn't going to step into the vacuum of the world police in the absence of the United States?
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to step in here. We got guns. The old Admiral Yamamoto apocryphal quote is that the Japanese didn't want to invade the United States because there was a gun behind every blade of grass.
Just go ahead and pay a higher VIG to whoever's controlling the world's oceans.
855 450 free, like Free Talk Live.
What if you could cut your heating bills this winter with your existing wood-burning fireplace and not spend thousands doing it? You can with Great Wall of Fire fireplace grates. Our U.S. patented made-in-America Wall of Fire grates increase fireplace efficiency, eliminate fireplace smoke problems, and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. See our grates in action and get free shipping from walloffire.com or call 800-274-7364. Fireplace heat without fireplace smoke. walloffire.com.
At 58 years of age, I noticed a dramatic energy decline. After a 5-day work week, I had to use one of my days off to rest and recover. I also had cut my gym visits down from 3 times a week to once a week. Since I began using Green Meadow Whey, my energy level has greatly improved. I no longer have to take a day to recover. I have increased my gym visits back to 3 times a week. I'm actually more active and feeling better now than I have in the last 5 years. It's so nice to wake up in the morning feeling good and ready to go. Before trying Green Meadow Whey, I must have tried every whey protein product on the market, and every one of them caused me bloating, gas, and constipation. I've had no such issues with Green Meadow Whey. In fact, I'm sleeping better, my vision has improved, and surprisingly, my emotional and mental state has also improved. I love what Green Meadow Whey has done for me.
Green Meadow Whey comes from milk derived from grass-pastured cows. To order, call 888-988-3325 or visit greenmeadowwhey.com.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I started fighting the IRS over 40 years ago when they tried to seize my mother's house. I sued the IRS and won. I beat the IRS then, and I've been beating them ever since. I wrote the book on tax debt settlement, and I've helped thousands of people deal with tax problems they thought might never be solved. I can help you too. If you owe taxes you can't pay, don't wait another day. There's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, danpilla.com. That's danpilla.com, danpilla.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Live Saturday edition of the show with you tonight. It's Ian,
the captain,
and Mark.
So wanted to talk about the idea of secession, because that's always a good idea to bring up secession whenever there's an election.
May I give the definition?
Please.
According to dictionary.com, secession is the act of seceding. Seceding is to withdraw formally from an alliance, federation, or association, as from a political union, a religious organization, etc.
And I have to say, I'm surprised, Mark, to hear you defending the idea of the United States federal government, because you want to pay less to ship products overseas, was the last thing you brought up just a moment ago. And I'm sorry. Do you know how much money these government goons are stealing from people this year? Trillions upon trillions of dollars are being spent. They are inflating the money supply beyond their wildest dreams. I mean, it's an unprecedented year.
It's $27 trillion right now.
That's the debt, you mean?
Yeah, debt.
Yeah.
I think I was.
They've increased it by like 4 or 5 trillion, I think, at least in just this 1 year, and there's probably more to come. With some other bailout that they're working on.
It was basically 20 trillion when Trump got in.
I think I'd rather pay a little bit more to ship products than have a multi-trillion-dollar federal government murdering innocent people all around the globe, killing.
What makes you think it's going to be more expensive? In the absence of government, the free market takes over, and it reduces
should reduce
the cost.
Price. That's another good point.
If
presuming
anything,
Mark's
it'll
right,
stay the same.
But presuming Mark's right, and that there's some subsidization going on of the shipping lanes, I'd rather know what the true. I'd rather know what the true cost is than have a bunch of dead people on my hands.
Right. So you don't have you have no evidence at this point that there won't be as many, if not more, dead people in the absence of the U.S. being the world's superpower.
Absolutely, I do, because the U.S. government will not be killing those people. If China wants to go and kill people, that's none of my business unless they come here.
As best I can tell, they're harvesting organs from live Uyghurs.
That sucks, but it's unfortunately a world away, and I can't do anything about it. Nor do I want to do anything about it.
You can't do anything about this either.
Sure, I can.
Let go of the notion.
We can secede from the United States.
Yickety yak.
No, see, what you don't understand is, what you don't get is, the more you talk about a thing, the more people can start to believe that thing, and the more people believe in that thing, the closer it is to manifesting into reality. That's just the way things work.
Yeah, that's the way things work. However, systems tend not to devolve. They tend to devolve into smaller things. They tend to evolve into larger things.
That's not true. There's secession that's been going on all around the world for 200 years.
And and most of it has occurred since World War I.
Okay, so most of it is recent then.
All of those smaller jurisdictions are entering into federations, different treaty agreements, so that they can trade more readily.
Okay, well, if people want to have free trade, then that's great. Of course, most of the time this isn't free trade.
A free trade agreement between the states.
What a load. Oh, between the states. Okay, fine.
And why get rid of it? That's all I'm saying.
Because of the federal government is evil, and I can't believe that your inconvenience from driving from one point to another is worth having a massive, murderous federal government around. It's shocking to me.
As an organization type, is the largest murderer on the planet.
Yeah.
All governments, not the federal government.
As an organization type, government.
Right.
The U.S. federal government is one of the worst on the planet.
Right. If you look up the word democide and you see the death and destruction that states have wrought, it is huge and tremendous.
So the idea that we need to have this organization type, to me, seems completely ridiculous.
Well, okay, so
you could still cut a deal with other states to allow people to pass. You could enter into whatever federation you're talking about. You don't need to have the federal government to do that.
All I'm saying is that I am not interested in a elementary solution to a complex problem. The United States federal government is out of control and liable.
So you walk away
to be bankrupt before it.
All the more reason to walk away.
Aren't
they bankrupt now? They're $27 trillion in debt. You think they can catch up?
No.
Okay, then they're bankrupt now.
Yes. So
why do you want to keep this organization around? Just so you can drive to Massachusetts? It's ridiculous. That's the best you got?
No, I'm trying to tell you that I do not want officious bureaucrats sticking their finger in my butt every time I cross some imaginary
Did you notice they're already doing that, Jack Ball?
No,
they're already
not.
pulling. Yes, they are. They're pulling people over with other state license plates in many states.
Sure.
You could have COVID.
Yep.
So now they got
be locked up for 14 days.
Right. Now they got a reason to pull you over and go through your S.
Understand they do. And
so you already have the thing you say you don't want to have.
I think that the number one thing you're looking for from a federal agreement is the ability.
I'm not looking for anything
to freely trade. You can get freedom from agreements.
Hasn't worked out.
Yes, it has.
No, it hasn't.
I can do business in Washington State from New Hampshire without any difficulty.
Whoopie-doo. Try buying some weed.
Well, where? In Washington State?
Yeah, from Washington State.
Okay.
You cannot do it. Well, it is prohibited.
All I know is that when I was in Colorado, I certainly could have bought weed.
Yes, when you physically were in Colorado. However, you are prohibited from buying that if you're in another state jurisdiction. So what you're saying isn't even true. It may be true for government-approved products
Most
or whatever,
things, yes.
but it's not actually true.
In sort of Mark's defense, yes, you can obtain freedom by agreements as long as they're voluntary agreements, and they're agreements by either individuals or by people you have voluntarily agreed to represent you, not this involuntary involuntary mess that we have known as government.
Yeah. Well, okay, so look, it's not that I don't agree with libertarianism when it comes to the existence of an involuntary state. I get it. I agree. But, all this, I'm sick and tired of 20 years on Free Talk Live wishing that the state would go away.
We're not wishing. We're talking about it. We're going to work on it to make it a reality.
Yeah,
that's why we moved here to New Hampshire, so we could get libertarians together. And I know you've given up on this. That's why you're going to be moving to some island nation. So I don't even know why you care about driving around the country. You're leaving. But for the rest of us,
I'm a U.S. citizen.
For the rest of us. Who actually are working towards these ideas. We're not just yicking about it on the radio. We're actually working towards it by encouraging people to migrate here to New Hampshire, people who care about the ideas of freedom, so we can actually have some success. We've had a multitude of people, we've had them elected here in New Hampshire. There are people who actually are real voluntarist, libertarian, anarchist types who are in public office. And I think there's a lot of reasons that people should be excited about coming up here. Number
I'm sure
one, the
all
community.
of those people will be delighted when they have their Social Security taken away by the federal government.
Who gives a flip about Social Security? If you know anything, you know it's bankrupt too, and you know that you're not likely going to get it later on anyway, unless you're about to receive it right now. If you got another 20 years or something before you're going to get Social Security, good luck. And if it buys a can of dog food when all's said and done after inflation, you'll be lucky.
I wonder how Maine and Massachusetts are going to deal with a seceded New Hampshire. I mean,
I don't know.
Will you be able to go to Vermont? Will you be
Why
able
would
to
you
go?
want to?
Well, look, I go to Vermont to drive up to places in New Hampshire. That's where the
if
interstate
Vermont
is.
wants some business, then they should open their borders up.
Vermont doesn't get to make those decisions. The United States federal government will, because you'll be seceding from the U.S. government.
Okay. Well, Vermont also has a secession movement. Okay.
Look, I got it.
Yeah.
But
so they could leave too.
Thought out.
I think you're going to see dominoes falling.
Nullification, that makes some sense.
Yeah.
Back the government off, as Oregon has done here by passing laws that are clearly against the U.S. federal government's DEA and all that stuff. Yeah, show them who's boss. The states certainly are. Drive them back into their cage if we can do it.
It's a real shame how many people in the so-called liberty movement are afraid of secession.
It's a
shame how many of them are just cowards when it comes to actually leaving the federal government. Screw the federal government. They can go pound sand. And you know what?
Okay.
More people who love the ideas of freedom should come here to New Hampshire, and then we'll figure it out from there.
Right. Step 1, move to New Hampshire. Step 2, ? Step 3, liberty.
That's right. We're figuring it out as we speak.
Fail to plan to fail.
We're going to Bernard. He's in Columbia, South Carolina. You're the one who's quitting, so you just go away. Bernard, you're on Free Talk Live.
I'm not quitting.
No. Mark Edge is quitting.
Oh, if you haven't moved to New Hampshire, Bernard, then you don't believe in liberty, according to Ian.
He's afraid of the federal government, and I don't blame him. They're scary.
Hello?
You're right here.
Hello? Yes, living in South Carolina as an amateur student of history, I know a thing or two about secession. It's really not possible unilaterally. It took an act of Congress to admit each of the states. Well, not New Hampshire, because you were one of the original 13.
Yep,
as was South Carolina.
First in, first out, or I think second in, or something like that.
Who's the first to sign?
But
Rhode Island?
But basically, the individual states requested admission to the Union, and the rest of the Union, the entire Union, had to admit them, and can't leave without federal government's permission.
Or else what? Bernard, hang on. We'll bring you back here in a moment. What are they going to do? It's Free Talk Live.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive, and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by DJ Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Bane Books at banebooks.com.
Did you know you can support freedom of speech just by visiting shop.freetalklive.com? You'll see links to Walmart, Love Java, Newegg, and more. Every day, Free Talk Live is at the forefront of the liberty movement as the biggest liberty-oriented talk show in the world, giving you a platform to be heard on any topic. Get listener-only specials without doing anything other than an extra click. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. Use the links and buy what you'd be buying anyway. Take action now. Save and support freedom. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. It's shop.freetalklive.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is a Fox News alert. Joe Biden, now President-elect Biden. I'm Joe Chiro. Joe Biden is preparing to give a speech in about an hour from an outdoor stage in Wilmington, Delaware, after he was declared the winner of the election by Fox News and other news organizations. But President Trump is continuing to vow a legal challenge.
3 sources now tell me that if at the end of this process of legal challenge, there doesn't appear to be a path for the president to get another 4 years in the Oval Office, he will graciously concede and commit to a peaceful and appropriate transfer of power. But the president is committed to legal challenges and will have to explore many, many different avenues before he finally accepts that there is no path to power, if indeed there is no path. I mean, he could quite possibly find a path.
Fox's John Roberts. It's a party on the streets of big cities across the nation with supporters of Joe Biden over his declared win. Fox's Alex Hogan is in Times Square.
Some honking and cheering when the news broke. And now again, this is a massive gathering. Thousands of people as they completely shut down all of Broadway here in Times Square. Of course, we have seen supporters of President Trump. Many of them are here holding up signs. But as we all know, New York is a blue state, and more than 84% of the city's vote went to Biden. Senator Chuck Schumer tweeted a video of himself calling Joe Biden, holding up his phone, cheering to the crowd.
Thousands are jamming streets in other cities, including Los Angeles, Atlanta, Philadelphia, and outside the White House in Washington. But Trump supporters aren't as jubilant. Across the nation, crowds are ranging in size from a few dozen to a few thousand, decrying the news of Joe Biden's victory. Skirmishes have broken out in some places, but nothing major has been reported. America is listening to Fox News.
This holiday season, more people will be mailing stuff than ever before. Stamps.com brings the post office and now UPS shipping right to your computer so you can mail and ship anything from the convenience of your home or office. With Stamps.com, you can print postage on demand and save money with deep discounts you can't even get at the post office. Like 5 cents off every stamp, up to 40% off priority mail, and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. Print official stamps and labels right from your computer for any letter, package, or class of mail, anywhere you want to send. Once your mail's ready, schedule a pickup or drop it off. It's a no-brainer. Don't spend a minute of this holiday season at the post office. Right now, listeners get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale with no long-term commitment. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Fox. Stamps.com. Enter Fox. Go right now to Stamps.com. Enter Fox.
To recap the top story, Joe Biden will become the 46th president of the United States. Fox News making the call earlier today. He's set to address the nation in about an hour. From New York to California and in between, Biden supporters out on the streets to celebrate him becoming the next president. Fox's Matt Finn is in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Thousands of people on the streets here at the Capitol and cheering and celebrating. There's been a steady stream of cars driving by for hours now, honking their horn and beeping. A lot of people on foot, shoulder to shoulder, dancing and shouting. People also holding signs saying voters decide. There's chants against the president and Black Lives Matter flags popping up. And on the opposite side of the Capitol building here, there was a dueling rally in favor of the president. Hundreds gathered waving Trump 2020 flags. And here in Wisconsin, the Trump campaign tells Fox News it has filed a lawsuit and will request a recount because the president's current vote total is within that 1% of Biden.
Biden is
LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. As our contract with our satellite provider is coming up for another 3-year renewal, I have to consider calling it quits. It's rare that we get feedback or support from our satellite users. We started a fundraiser a few years ago, and though there are a bunch of great contributors to it, as of this recording, it covers 15% of our monthly satellite costs. Please email lrn@lrn.fm and tell me how you use the satellite feed. Better yet, chip in at fund.lrn.fm. The costs aren't the issue. We can afford them, but why continue something not valued by the market? Want to help? You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. Fund.lrn.fm.
Did you know that 35% of high school girls report that they've only had sex with 1 or 2 partners a year, instead of having the living shit out of them by any guy they see?
Did you know that only half of all 17-year-old males report without a condom, even though it's really the only way to go?
There are thousands of American teenagers today who are unaware of the full benefits of your brains out all day, every day. These otherwise average high schoolers haven't been taught about every chance you get, pounding each other dry, and never ever pulling out. Every sexually active high school student should know this stuff. Ditch the condoms, because it's always better raw. Stop worrying about STDs. Every chance you get. Just keep and strangers, doesn't matter who. And most importantly, be direct with your partner about how badly you want to their brains out.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. You can take control of the airwaves. You can bring in whatever you want. We kick off the second hour of the program. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. We're talking about the idea of secession. Some people, like one of our co-hosts here, Mark, believe that it is completely unpalatable for people and argues against it. Even though he doesn't like the federal government, he still, for whatever reason, wants it to be around so he can drive from state to state without being stopped
secession
at the border.
has intractable problems, is what I'm saying.
No, it doesn't. It's worked fine for plenty of countries that have had secession over all of the years, and that results in decentralization and
genocide.
more political control in the various places that have it. Whether they have more or less government after that is completely up to those areas. So if California secedes, or rather when California secedes, then they will be able to go down the road of socialism even further. And I say, good luck to them. It'll probably be an absolute dismal result with impoverished people and starvation like in Venezuela. But you know what? They should be free to make that choice for themselves.
Will California's treaties, agreements with Nevada in order to get water still hold when they're no longer
I don't know.
a state?
They're going to have to pay more probably for that. Let's go to, they can always
They're
build
not going to get it.
They could build a desalinization plant, okay, if that's what they really want to do. Let's go to when
they haven't been able to do it yet.
Invention is the mother of, or rather, necessity is the mother of invention, Mark. So let's just let the market handle these things, unless you really just think the government does a better job of everything.
I thought you were going to have a socialist California. The market's not going to have anything to do with
It's not my
what's going on
problem.
there.
I don't know what they're going to do out in California, and I honestly don't care. I don't care what they do now, except right now, what they do out there has an effect on us because of the federal government. So when we leave the federal government, California will no longer have an effect on us. Okay? So why you want to keep this arrangement, I don't understand. Let's go back to Bernard. He's in Columbia, South Carolina. Bernard, go ahead with your thoughts.
Yes, South Carolina, the first state that attempted to secede from the Union. Actually, the Civil War was not the first attempt by South Carolina to secede from the Union. It was the third. But it was the first serious attempt that saw the federal government react, and basically the federal government turned to military force to keep the territory of South Carolina within the Union, and all the federal installations within South Carolina they refused to give over to the state of South Carolina.
Well,
so
I mean, like,
New
we really
Hampshire decides to,
you really need to mention the part about firing on an occupied federal fort.
Wasn't that a false flag? Some people are alleging that the whole thing was cooked up.
I don't think that was a false flag. That really was the South Carolina militia firing upon the federal garrison at Fort Sumter.
How do you know? So what they teach in the history books written by the federal government?
History is a series of agreed-upon lies is why. And the idea that you're going to argue against it is pointless.
I didn't argue. I just asked, how do you know?
You don't know.
Exactly.
Who knows? Maybe the fort fired first. It doesn't really matter.
That's what I'm saying.
When you employ violence against a greater armed
That's
foe,
why secession needs to be done peacefully this time.
Well, then it'll have to be by negotiation with the federal government. And get
like
the
saying,
federal
hey, we're done. We're done here. Goodbye. And then figure it all out.
I have one other point.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Yep, you're right here.
One of you all mentioned something about the federal government being bankrupt.
Yeah.
Bankruptcy is a legal concept whereby a government allows or takes control of a person or institution's assets, either voluntarily or involuntarily, in order to satisfy creditors. There is no body which can do that to a sovereign state.
That's one of the definitions of bankrupt. The other definition is an insolvent person.
Yeah, well, okay, insolvent. Say insolvent instead of bankrupt. And there will come a point in time when
they have more debt than they have the ability to pay off.
Yeah, I mean, this is to some extent now. You've fallen into the word trap. I mean, if I were to say that someone murdered somebody else, but they haven't been convicted, you could come back and say, "Well, murder is a legal term. You can say they killed them, but you can't say they murdered them." And I mean, it's true, but there's a functional sort of civilian definition to the term murder and bankruptcy, and there is a legal definition to the term murder and bankruptcy.
And it's the legal definition that winds up getting people jailed. But, basically there's nobody that, the UN cannot come along and involuntarily put the United States of America into bankruptcy to divide up its assets to pay off its foreign creditors.
However, its credit rating can be affected, and it has
I really don't care what happens to the United States. If people leave the United States, if the state governments decide to leave, which we're looking at seeing happen, California has a ballot initiative that they're working on. The Yes California ballot initiative.
It's been discussed in Washington State as well.
Yep, they need to get 600,000 signatures to put it to a vote of the people there in California. If and when states start to leave the United States government, then more states are going to go. You're going to see a domino effect of states leaving, and then whatever few states are left, they're the ones that are going to have that debt. Ultimately, they can do whatever they need to do to print out a $23 trillion bill or coin or 30 trillion or 50 trillion or however much it is by that point, and pay off their debts, or just dissolve the entire organization and say, sorry, you ain't getting anything.
Who gets the military? I mean, this is the world's largest military. 23 different aircraft carriers. God knows how many Ohio-class nuclear subs. I mean,
sell them off or sell it for parts.
Go ahead. What was that
I
called?
I want one MRAP for myself.
Go get it. Thanks, Bernard. Appreciate the call tonight, man. Let's talk to Pat. He's in Michigan. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Pat.
Good evening, gentlemen.
What's up,
Thank
Pat?
you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Pat.
Well, you guys are rolling back into the history books. I'd like to say on that standing, we're still paying interest on loans from the Civil War.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
You know,
Yikes.
and I think the one thing the whole country can agree on is it freed the slaves. No matter who started it, why it was, if that was the standing and founding of it.
I don't know. I mean,
it did good. All right, that particular war did good.
I think that what it did was made a better, more equal form of slavery for all of us that we call citizenship today.
Well, that's true enough. True enough. Yeah, everybody got unchained though.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, there certainly wasn't the amount of lashings and rapes going on.
Yeah, we went from overt slavery to this sort of free-range slavery that we have today.
Right. All right. But as far as what's going on right now, the Democrats, who was the party of slavery, by the way, are trying to steal this election. And there's multiple aspects and avenues, and this is far from over. So I suggest Jerome get an inhaler. I think he might need one.
Thanks, Pat. Anything else you want to share?
No, I'm not done. I'm not done. Oh, God, now you sidetracked me. I was on a roll.
Well,
there.
one thing I'll say about the, for one, Trump has also claimed victory. And
so is Vermin Supreme.
Yeah, Vermin Supreme.
Did he really?
Yeah,
Nice.
the guy with the rubber boot.
Like 2 days ago.
The guy with the rubber boot on his head has also claimed victory.
Yeah, well, I don't want to have a president, but if I had to have one, I'd pick Vermin Supreme.
Right, there you go.
All right, but you guys are talking about secession.
Yeah.
And while I agree that it's not really doable as we see it right now, but I think this election, if the Democrats get away with stealing it, is going to tick enough people off where there might actually be enough uprising to finally get a convention of states. And that we could limit the federal government with.
That would be very interesting.
Now, people have been talking about that forever. You have to remember there's going to be a bunch of people there who won't want to limit the federal government.
Well, the problem is we need 38 states.
Mm-hmm.
And just with the 13 colonies, which is the East Coast, we're outnumbered.
Right. And this is one of the things I wonder is...
We got crooked governors here, like in my state. And if they're in control of the wherewithal of the country, we're doomed.
Look, secession is far more likely than getting a constitutional convention and trying to, quote, fix the federal government. Thank you, Pat, for the call tonight. I appreciate it. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. You can take control of the airwaves, bring up whatever's on your mind, and we will talk about secession because it's time that this happens sooner rather than later. And that was true 4 years ago, by the way. This is Free Talk Live.
Divi's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divi's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to diviproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from diviproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. diviproject.org. DIVI project.org. News from news.bitcoin.com. A 1 million ounce gold find in Russia raises questions if Bitcoin is more rare than gold. The Bitcoin market is expected to be volatile until the end of the year. Study shows that half of U.S. investors interested in adding Bitcoin to their portfolio. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions, or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Bain Books at bainbooks.com. Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive, and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by DJ Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live Saturday edition. Dial in toll free and bring up anything you want here. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. It's 855-450-3733. Secession, it is or should be in the news, and it was actually back in February. I actually came across this story from WashingtonTimes.com. It is an analysis opinion piece by F.H. Buckley, and Mr. Buckley apparently is the author of a book. He's a professor at Scalia Law School and the author of American Secession, The Looming Threat of a National Breakup, which is what this op-ed of his is based on.
I think that it could very well be coming, but I think the national breakup would probably be along party lines as opposed to just an individual state or something.
I'm curious what he means by threat in his title.
Well, I haven't read the book, so I couldn't tell you that, but this particular piece I will share with you again. This was actually from back in February.
Mm-hmm.
So
pre-COVID,
pre-election, all that. And again, as I pointed out, we talked about secession in 2012. We talked about secession in 2016.
We've talked about secession for 20 years.
I was going to say, I don't know that there's been a year that's gone by that secession has not been talked about on this program.
Maybe early on. I don't remember talking about it in the early days of Free Talk Live, but then again, that was more than 15 years ago, so it's hard to really remember it.
Yeah,
about the time you started, you signed up for the Free State Project, which I believe was in 2004.
No, I signed up in 2002.
2002,
which was before.
That's when you started talking about secession. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then it would have been the whole time.
If you're of a freedom mind and you've thought about philosophy, you've read some books, maybe listened to the show for a while. Like secession should be in your vocabulary. Yeah. You should understand what it is, and hopefully you're a fan of it.
And the point of this discussion is to help other people come to understand what it is and why it's a good idea. So here's what F.H. Buckley, again, he's a law professor at Scalia Law School. He writes, "As a people, we've seldom been more divided. And since that doesn't look about to change, maybe it's time to look at the possibility of secession. Nearly every country is staring down a secession movement, so why should we think we're exempt? After all, 1776 was our own secession from Britain. It's not as though we'd fight a civil war over secession as we did in 1861. For one thing, the stakes would be a lot lower today. The civil rights revolution has taken hold, and there'd be no going back to the bad old days of Jim Crow in any seceding state. So instead of a war, what we'd see...
If people have in their minds that somehow secession means slavery for some ethnic group, then let me disabuse you of that. Secession goes around across the globe, and as a matter of fact, the largest secession event in the planet occurred post World War I with the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Ottoman Empire, and frankly several empires. It rippled down for decades, and by I think it was 1940, there were twice as many countries as there were in 1910.
So instead of a war, he says, what we'd see is the kind of sorting out of people that happens today when people move from California to Texas. That's how moderns settle these things. And we're seeing that happening, and we've seen that happen where people get fed up with a certain place for whatever reason, and they can vote with their feet and move somewhere else.
I did.
Yeah, and it was the right move.
There
right?
will be people leaving the United States because of the results of this election.
Not that many. A lot of people who say they're going to do that never follow through.
No, but there will be more people, I think, moving from whatever state they're currently in we're talking United States, to possibly another state.
That's already happening for sure. There was a couple that were at the meeting. We had a get-together here today, what they call a market day, where liberty-minded folks kind of sell their wares to the community. And there was a couple with some kids that showed up that they're moving out of California.
Yep.
They're done.
Well, and even in the Seattle, Washington area, for a long time, the Seattle natives have been complaining about the migrants from California moving to Seattle because of the tech migration. Had nothing to do with politics. It was because the tech jobs were becoming more plentiful in the Seattle area, and as expensive as Seattle was, it was still less expensive than California.
Than San Francisco.
San Francisco, yeah, absolutely. One of the reasons that people stay within the United States and fewer of them leave the United States is because it's just different out there. I've been to 30 countries or something like that, and it's hard to be comfortable as a U.S. citizen because, stores are different, the language isn't the same, and just a whole bunch of things that kind of prickle your skin. You're just not quite home. But if you move from, California to New Hampshire, not that much has changed. The topography has changed, but the people
still
talk
a bit
the
of
same.
a culture
They're completely different countries, dude. I mean, it was hugely different when I moved here from Florida to New Hampshire. There's a ton of stuff that's different. Yeah, the language is similar, but even that is different.
All
they
the
talk
street signs use the same language, but yeah, they're it's Concord, not Concord.
They call a water fountain. They call it a bubbler.
Bubbler. Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, what the hell? How did that? Where did they get that name from?
Well, in Wisconsin too, when I grew up, it was a bubbler, not a water fountain.
Really?
Yeah. And then you've got the whole pop and soda thing.
Yeah.
Right. So there's differences.
There's totally different lingos.
Like I've moved around the United States a whole bunch. Not so much. I've been to Mexico. I've been to Canada. I've never been to Europe or any exotic country or anything like that. But only for a vacation or just to say that I've been to these places. But I do encourage people to go internationally, go travel and meet people and see these other cultures, because it does change your mind about people. It changes your mind about how governments operate. It changes your mind it makes you a more cultured person. And if you're experienced in these multiple cultures, it opens your eyes to things that you would not have seen before had you not traveled. So I encourage that even within the United States to move from culture to culture and see these differences that we're talking about.
Some think that secession is a constitutional impossibility. They're wrong. If a state wanted out, I don't think we'd see a president sending in the troops, which is always the biggest objection.
Sure, that's the only thing. Well, honestly, that's what government is, right? Well, that's what a nation state is. You can go on YouTube and listen to Barack Obama say something to the effect of, well, this is what defines the difference, the distinction for a nation state is the monopoly on violence, right?
Yeah, that's what he said.
And something to that effect. I don't know exactly what
it's pretty
it is.
Good.
But that's what it is. A nation state. The difference between that organizational model and other organizational models is a monopoly on violence. And so really the only thing a government can do, if you pick the given state that's going to secede, I don't care. The only thing they can do is if that state They vote. 66% of the people in the state vote. We want to secede, and we don't care. If you've got that kind of plebiscite going on, there's nothing that the federal government could do about it except roll in tanks. And if they did, they would lose so much support from the other people.
I would hope so.
I would be, gobstopped at the notion.
Flabbergasted?
Right.
It's not to say they wouldn't do it, that it's impossible for them to do it, but yeah, they would ruin whatever semblance of legitimacy that they had left, because a lot of people, they have friends and family members in other states, and they would feel like they were now attacking their friends and family. So I think it would be a pretty unprecedented move for them to do something like that.
Right, and what's going to actually happen is that, for one, a secession movement doesn't happen overnight.
No, it doesn't.
And when the federal government began to see whatever that state is, get to the point that they actually are going to vote for secession, it looks like it could go something. There's going to be polls, after all.
They'd start making offers.
They'd start making negotiations. And at this point...
And we would ignore every single one of them, tell them to go pound sand. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. More of this law professor's interpretation on the idea of secession. He says it is possible. And I say we should do it.
Maxwell, she was scratching and losing some hair. My vet, she says, he must be allergic to chicken. Another vet said, eat the grain. Third vet said, it's the weather. Then somebody said, DINOVITE.com. It took 2 weeks, and the dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out. The Dinovite is a big part of Maxwell's diet.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
DINOVITE.com. Every year, over 1 million fires burn in America. Fortunately, firefighters are on the job, saving life and property, and you can be a part of it. 7 out of 10 firefighters and emergency responders are volunteers. There's no typical firefighter. Anyone can volunteer to serve their community. Volunteering as a first responder is really about having the heart and drive to make a difference where it's needed most. Your community needs you. Are you ready to answer the call? Learn more and find local volunteer opportunities at makemeafirefighter.org.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Also, our Matrix chat server is open and available to you over at chat.lrn.fm. That's actually where you get the instructions on how to connect to it. If you already know how to do Matrix, then just put in matrix.lrn.fm into your Matrix client, and that's how you can get in to where our chats are. There's a variety of them. There's maybe like just over half a dozen official rooms, and then there's probably another dozen plus rooms that were created by listeners. You can just create whatever room you want to. Now, whether other people will join it or not, that is the question.
It remains a mystery.
If you build it, will they come?
They may. Some have. Some of the listener rooms are actually very popular on the server. So check it out at chat.lrn.fm. And you've heard us talking about Divi here on Free Talk Live. It's a cryptocurrency, one of the newer ones out there, and run by some liberty-minded folks we met over at Anarchapulco when we were down in Mexico a few years ago. I think that's where we first encountered the folks from Divi. And recently, as in last year, we got a Divi masternode, which I have now set up here in the studio. I wanted to go through the process myself and see how hard it was or how easy it was. And it turns out it really is super easy. Now, it's not one click, which is what originally was being advertised, and that it takes more than one click, but it's not much more than a handful of them. It's really, really very simple.
It's very simple.
Very easy to do. Even Mark could do it if he really wanted to. But but you had your wife do it.
Right. And honestly, people don't understand this is that I'm the tech guy in our house, as terrifying as that is. So the fact that she did it means that it really is quite easy.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. DiviProject.org. Now, you do need to have Divi in order to create a masternode. And so how do you acquire Divi? Well, you can get it from multiple exchanges, or what might be a better option is to just get it directly from the Divi team. They've got some, they can sell it to you. Go to diviproject.org. That's what they call an over-the-counter purchase, which means it won't adjust the price of exchanges when you make that purchase. So, because a lot of times, if you go on an exchange and you try to make a large buy, it'll shoot the price up. You don't want that happening. So you can avoid that by going to diviproject.org. They've got a link right to their Telegram chat. You can connect to that and talk to them directly. diviproject.org. And, of course, they'll help you if you got any questions, getting things set up and all that, too. So we go to more of your calls and thoughts, and then more from this attorney or professor at a law school who says secession is possible. It is not constitutionally impossible, and he doesn't think the president would send in troops. He says that in 1868, when the Civil War was good and over, the court held that there was no right of secession, but they based this on the 1781 Articles of Confederation, which in 1787 the framers thought were no longer in effect. So the court's originalists would likely take seriously a vote on secession. And we'll tell you more about what he has to say coming up here. But first, let's go to Bob. He's in Holland, Michigan, listening to WHTC. Go ahead, Bob.
Hi, guys. I've been in New Hampshire. It's a beautiful state. I used to work for a congressman. People call me about the NSA, National Security Office in Fort Meade, Maryland, and they say they're being watched through the computer. They even call them on the phones and so forth, and they're collecting data, and they store it in Orem, Utah, in these big buildings.
Yep.
The old-timer states like Nazi Young in 1933, they collected all kinds of data. I don't want to scare people, but it's really happening.
This is a lot of what Edward Snowden revealed in 2013 when he started releasing little bits of information about the data that he had gotten out of the NSA when he was a contractor there. And yeah, the NSA absolutely has the ability to spy on people, and they have been spying on people, but they want you to think that they're all done with that.
And the Nazi Germans would be so jealous of the technology that exists today to collect all of that data. They would be frothing at the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, yeah, thank you. A lot of people are concerned about here in Holland, Michigan. It's happening, so thank you. Have a good day. Thank you.
Okay, I guess he just wanted to remind us about the NSA. Thank you, Bob, for that. Yeah, it is definitely important to remember that the government goons have a tremendous ability to invade your privacy.
Technology is a double-edged sword. It has made our lives significantly better.
Yeah,
Just talking to somebody today about the difference between when we were kids. I'm 49 years old. The difference between when I was a kid and today. I grew up without the internet. I grew up without a cell phone.
Right. Now kids have it from day one.
Right.
Hey, you know what I did the other day? I just left the house. No wallet, no keys, no cell phone. I just left the house. I was like, whoa, this is weird. I don't think I've done this since my teens.
Well, I had a wallet and keys back in the 80s.
So what you're saying is you left your front door unlocked.
I did, yeah.
It's nice to live in a small town.
It is. Yeah. I just walked down the street for a thing, but
That's cool.
Well, I did. I left the house without anything, and I was like, "Oh, this is so freeing."
How do you know how many steps you got in a day if you don't have your smartwatch on?
I'm going to go to David. He's in Jackson, Michigan, listening to WKHM. Hello, David.
Hey, good evening, gents. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind, David?
Oh, just talking a little bit with some other. Noticed some other Michigan residents here, and the thing about seeding from the Union, call it that. Now, the East Coast on the Atlantic is huge.
Yep.
All the way through the Gulf of Mexico, and then the West Coast, the Pacific. Now, where's the military? How is that going to be divvied up?
Yep.
What's going to be? Where's a battle line going to be drawn? Where's a state line going to be drawn? What allegiance are you going to
let's slow it down here. So the state lines have already been drawn. I mean, maybe there's going to be some discrepancy or some debate over those here and there, but for the most part, those are pretty much accepted by most people. The question about the military is a pretty good one. That's a good question. I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear different proposals for how to handle that. What do you think?
I've heard the idea that those folks who are currently within, any military building or perhaps a ship or something like that, that you could just turn that particular item over to those people and go ahead, make a business out of this.
Yeah, I mean, certainly
the
people.
aircraft carrier business.
People.
Yeah, I mean, you could do tours, you could, all sorts of things.
Or
right?
sell it off to some other government or whatever. Get some money for it.
Yeah.
However, let me ask you men this.
Yeah.
What about our foreign allies and enemies?
Don't need them.
They're going to take a stand.
Yep.
Are we going to be free, or will we be?
When you say they're going to take a stand, what do you mean?
Well, most nations want our resources bad.
Okay, they can pay for them. It is not our responsibility to go around the rest of the world and play policeman or play guard to the rest of the planet. Let them pay for their own defense.
If there's a resource,
Ian, let me ask you this then: you're freedom oriented in New Hampshire.
Yeah,
I am too.
Great.
Do you want to be controlled by a foreign or state government?
No, that's why I want to secede, because the United States federal government is controlling us right now. And it's going to get worse.
Well, that's what I wonder. What is freedom?
Freedom is the ability to make decisions for yourself that don't infringe upon the rights of others.
Do you think a foreign government that really wants to control us or eliminate the population, say,
why would they want to do that?
Us freedom?
There's no foreign government out there that wants to eliminate the population of the United States, especially if they can sell things to them like the Chinese people are doing. The Iranian government and the other so-called enemies of the United States don't have any interest in attacking a free New Hampshire, because New Hampshire will not be occupying their territory with tanks and bombs.
And if there's something that they want,
your own money and establish your own.
We don't need to. We have
government
cryptocurrency. We've got gold. We don't need we don't need state money.
I understand the feds grabbed how many $1 billion worth of that? I still don't understand it as much. Maybe I'll let you go and explain.
You talking about cryptocurrency?
The federal government sees that much. Yep.
They stole it from somebody. Yep. So in the same way that I can put it, thank you for the call. In the same way that I can put I wouldn't do this, but in the same way that someone could put a gun to another person's head and steal their wallet from them, the federal government put their guns to Ross Ulbricht's head in the library in San Francisco, and they stole his Bitcoin from him. And it turned into $1 billion worth. It was only like $300,000 worth at the time. And now it's like $975 million worth of Bitcoin. They stole it. That's how they do things. And that's why I don't want anything to do with them, because they're a criminal agency and they hurt peaceful people. And now they've got Ross Ulbricht, a man who ran a website, behind bars for 2 life sentences plus 40 years. That man needs to be released. We're coming up here in moments. This is Free Talk Live.
At 58 years of age, I noticed a dramatic energy decline. After a 5-day work week, I had to use one of my days off to rest and recover. I also had cut my gym visits down from 3 times a week to once a week. Since I began using Green Meadow Whey, my energy level has greatly improved. I no longer have to take a day to recover. I have increased my gym visits back to 3 times a week. I'm actually more active and feeling better now than I have in the last 5 years. It's so nice to wake up in the morning feeling good and ready to go. Before trying Green Meadow Whey, I must have tried every whey protein product on the market, and every one of them caused me bloating, gas, and constipation. I've had no such issues with Green Meadow Whey. In fact, I'm sleeping better, my vision has improved, and surprisingly, my emotional and mental state has also improved. I love what Green Meadow Whey has done for me.
Green Meadow Whey comes from milk derived from grass-pastured cows. To order, call 888-988-3325 or visit greenmeadowwhey.com.
Attention business owners body slammed by overwhelming debt. If your business is in trouble, hassled by creditors, if you're frustrated, finally fed up with big business bailouts while your business has been left for dead, please listen close. There's a brand new fast-track bankruptcy. Some have even called it the biggest small business bailout in American history. Designed for individuals and their businesses. And look, almost no one knows about this yet. My attorney wasn't even aware of it. The truth is, beating the system has never been easy because it's rigged in a sense against the little guy. But here's the jaw-dropping news nobody's talking about. They've literally just changed the system so that you can beat it, but only if you understand how the new game has to be played. Find out if you qualify at pocketsoflight.com. This government-backed small business repair program is still legal, but may not be renewed after the election. Fight back fairly, fight back ethically at pocketsoflight.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You can bring up what you want here. It is the live Saturday edition. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. Want to say thanks to Gage Bass, who is a Free Talk Live Gold Amplifier. Gage contributes $10 a month to the AMP program, and that means that he is supporting what we do here on Free Talk Live.
As a musician, I have to wonder if it's bass or bass.
Or bass. It's a good question. A friend of mine in high school was bass, so I'm going with that one.
Did he play the bass?
I don't think he did.
Have you seen the bass guitar shaped like a fish?
No.
It's called the bass guitar.
I'm sure it is.
Gage can write in and correct us.
Thanks, Gage, on that.
Yeah, but thanks, Gage.
Appreciate it. And that is the way to help Free Talk Live. If you want to hear us get on more radio stations around the country, you think more people need to hear the ideas of freedom and peace and secession, then get behind the show over at amp.freetalklive.com. Gage did twice what we asked.
Is it Gage or Gauge?
Or Gage.
Gajwi.
He did twice the amount that we asked. We asked for $5 a month. He did 10, so thank you for that, Gage. And you can do that too by joining over at amp.freetalklive.com. You get some cool perks, including access to the new supporters chat room on our server. We got the chat server. If you're an amplifier, you can get an invitation to a room that is just for supporters like you. So go to amp.freetalklive.com. You can use debit card, credit card. You can use PayPal. You can use Bitcoin if you want to. It's getting a little pricey to use Bitcoin these days, sadly. Last Bitcoin transaction I sent would have been like almost $10 to send that transaction. It's getting crazy. This actually dropped down a little bit this weekend, but it was as high as $15, $25 over the last week if you wanted to send the fastest possible transaction. So I don't think we're going to see any Bitcoin ampers anytime soon. But if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, we do still have PayPal, and we do also have.
Do we not do BCH?
No, unfortunately, it was very expensive to just implement the Bitcoin method of paying, and I don't have a bunch of people banging down my door saying implement BCH.
Right.
So it's like, do I really want to pay programmers another, thousands of dollars or whatever it would be?
Like if we could implement something from the AnyPay guys into that.
Maybe down the line. Everything with websites is expensive. And
I know
it's
they're
just not
getting
worth
started
it.
with their web offering, so it's just a thought.
We don't run WooCommerce either. It's not a WordPress site, so it's like everything we want to do is really expensive, and it sucks. Frankly, I can't stand web design. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. So sorry about that. If you want to do BCH, you can just contact me directly, and I'll give you an address. It's a lot easier that way than to automate that system.
Yep.
So,
and then we can just, pay for a year's worth of AMP, and then you can do it that way.
Yeah. amp.freetalklive.com. You can do that. And we go back to an article from the Washington Times. It's an opinion piece from a gentleman named F.H. Buckley. He is a professor at Scalia Law School, author of American Secession, The Looming Threat of a National Breakup. And he says that he thinks that it could be done, that it is not impossible constitutionally. And he says that it doesn't mean that states have a unilateral right of secession. They'd have to negotiate the terms of exit, including how to divide federal property, like the military bases, and responsibility for the public debt. But so long as, and by the way, I don't agree that the states would have any responsibility for the public debt. They didn't make those choices.
Agreed. But
I say walk on it.
So a state, let's say, a state did, to some extent, make that agreement in so much as they were part of the United States federal government, States federal government, when the agreement was made with the to create the Federal Reserve and all that sort of thing. So, I suppose you could claim there's some responsibility. However, it's pretty clear at this point the United States federal government has no intention of paying back the money that it owes, $27 trillion. If history is any guide, the money will be bumped forward until the dollar's devalued and the federal government is considered insolvent.
When states fail, they don't pay their debts off; they go away.
Yeah, with the current system in place and the national debt being what it is, I'm trying to remember the numbers. As soon as the child is born, it's like $38,000 in debt.
presuming that it would actually have some sort of liability for debts that it did not incur, which is a ridiculous concept.
My point here is that, you're supposed to be, in theory, born with zero debt. It's impossible for you to incur debt, right? The debts of your fathers and all that kind of stuff.
That is not fair. You should not be able to have to pay off your dad's debt.
So now what we have is essentially debtor's prison. As soon as a kid's born, they're already owing something thanks to the government.
I don't know if it's debtor's prison, but we have a very strange situation in the United States.
Free-range prison.
If you, for instance, are born
minimum security
in Belgium, you're a Belgian citizen, you leave Belgium and you go to I don't know, you pick a place, St. Lucia, and you begin doing business there, you owe taxes to St. Lucia. You don't owe any to Belgium. However, if you're a United States citizen and you go to St. Lucia to do business, you owe taxes to St. Lucia and the United States federal government claims that if you make enough money, you owe money to them. You could have not stepped foot on the ground in the U.S. for 20 years. And it's the only country in the world. I hear North Korea does too, but I mean, that's since they don't let people travel from North Korea, it's functionally a pointless statement. That basically the United States is the only government that has this sort of rule where...
Well, anything they say, if people do it, then it's going to work. But if people just say screw off, then what are they going to do about it?
And that's what the whole thing behind secession is so powerful, is that Americans love red, white, and blue. They love that eagle. They love all of that stuff. And the idea of breaking that seems very unlikely. The only state to me that has even a possibility is Texas.
Disagree.
Because they are even more
I got to come back to
chauvinistic
Father George Carlin. I leave the symbols to the symbol-minded.
Well, but beyond that, I've actually had experience talking with people about secession. I've done secession outreach here in New Hampshire at public events that were not libertarian events. We're talking about just like the county fair. We're talking about outside of Independence Day. They've got like a baseball game here, handing out flyers to people about secession. Now, when you're flyering, you don't get a whole lot of time to talk, but as far as the initial reactions and what people say or how they react to those flyers, I've found it's been very positive because while people may have a love for what you're talking about, Mark, the red, white, and blue, and the symbols and the
patriotism,
and the apple pie and all that stuff. They also, at least in New Hampshire, they also really love New Hampshire. They really do. And the people here know that New Hampshire is
die, baby.
That's right. And they know, and the natives here know that there's something special about this place, and they love it. And so I think that they would be happy to trade. I think most people have given asked the question, would you like to have more freedom? Would you like to keep the money that you earn that right now you're paying in income tax? I remember when Harry Brown wrote his book 20 years ago, so I don't know what the current numbers are, but it was like the family of four was paying like $10,000 in income tax or something like that. Would you like to have that 10 grand back every single year so you can decide what you want to do with it, so you can spend it and save it and give it away in the way that you think is best? And have the ability to make more decisions for yourself, run the businesses the way you want to run it, have more abilities to, have more freedom. I think most people would give that serious consideration and say, you know what, I'd rather see the New Hampshire flag rather than the U.S. flag. Now, I'm no lover of flags. I'm no lover of governments. Yeah. But I've found a lot of positive response from people. Their smiles go right across their face when they like get the flyer from me and they read what it says on it. They get really excited about it.
Have you ever seen a kid like get its first job and then get its first paycheck?
It's a big deal,
right? And they think, oh, I'm making whatever it is, $15 an hour.
Then
and they work
taxes.
10 hours, and they're like, I'm getting $150, right? They do the math, and then they get their check,
and
it's like $98.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? I mean, that is the illustration of what government does to you. And they're bold enough that they put it right in your frickin' face. Right?
Sure.
Like if you look at your pay stub, now everything's direct deposit these days, so you got to log into a thing to look at it. But you go and you look at it and you're like, but I worked and I was expecting, and they're like, but I only get, right? And you just see that on their face, right? People forget that over time because they become acclimated to that. But that is the reality of the situation.
It's called institutionalization.
Yes.
So long as democracy is a foundational value in our Constitution, a successful democratic secession referendum in a state couldn't be ignored. Instead, it would begin a set of negotiations on how the exit might happen. And we've seen this over in the UK over the last 4 years.
Right, UK voted, and it took 2 years to...
no, it's still going. They still haven't done it, haven't they?
Oh, I think they've done it.
No, if they did, it was sometime earlier this year because as of earlier this year, they were still negotiating it. Check that for me if you can. In that case, we'd have the same kind of conversation the framers did about the optimal size of a country. Most of the framers thought that small was beautiful, and they were right. In my book, American Secession, I found that smaller countries are happier, freer, and less corrupt. And today, America is one of the biggest countries in the world in terms of population. And I think that's really important to point out. Smaller countries, happier, freer, and less corrupt. And you know why they're less corrupt? Because you're closer to these a-holes. Because you can actually go to the governor's house here in New Hampshire. You can go to the state representative's house. You can know where they live, and they don't have any protection.
Yeah, you're closer to the Dunbar number.
Here from Tom Edgington, reporting for the BBC, the UK is no longer a member of the European Union, but that's not the end of Brexit.
All right, just more coming up here in moments. You can take control of the airwaves. It's Free Talk Live.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for everyone to use it in everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that's as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more, and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is a Fox News alert. Joe Biden addresses the nation as president-elect. I'm Joe Chiro. He will be the 46th president of the United States. Joe Biden, the projected winner of the presidential election. He's speaking to the nation this hour, along with Vice President-elect Kamala Harris from an outdoor stage near his home in Wilmington, Delaware.
His campaign kicked off just a few blocks away from here in 2019 at the Wilmington train station, and it is going to end tonight in this parking lot that is wedged between an event center and I-95. In between, of course, there has been a pandemic, but the Biden message remained remarkably consistent, that he believed he was in a battle for the soul of the nation, the character was on the ballot, and that the United States could survive 4 years of Donald Trump, but 8 years would just be too much. He has long claimed that there are many Republicans in Congress eager to work with him.
Fox's Peter Ducey. The Trump campaign planning several lawsuits. Fox's John Roberts.
The president plans to stick with that fight for the foreseeable future as new legal challenges are filed. One just announced in Arizona, alleging that a lot of in-person overvotes, as they're called, were rejected. There are also new lawsuits being filed in Pennsylvania and Nevada, recounts in Georgia and possibly elsewhere. Rudy Giuliani insisting that there are hundreds of thousands of votes in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh that were entered into the system without being inspected.
Sources tell Fox News the president plans to concede gracefully if no legal path to re-election is found from the lawsuits. Americans taking to the streets from coast to coast. Thousands of Biden supporters celebrating the president-elect's win, jamming Times Square, streets outside the White House, and many other places. Trump supporters have also come out. There have been a few skirmishes crashes, but nothing major has been reported. America is listening to Fox News.
Alexa. This holiday season, more people will be mailing stuff than ever before. Stamps.com brings the post office and now UPS shipping right to your computer so you can mail and ship anything from the convenience of your home or office. With Stamps.com, you can print postage on demand and save money with deep discounts you can't even get at the post office. Like 5 cents off every stamp, up to 40% off priority mail, and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. Print official stamps and labels right from your computer for any letter, package, or class of mail, anywhere you want to send. Once your mail's ready, schedule a pickup or drop it off. It's a no-brainer. Don't spend a minute of this holiday season at the post office. Right now, listeners get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale with no long-term commitment. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Fox. Stamps.com. Enter Fox. Go right now to Stamps.com. Enter Fox.
Recapping the top story, President-elect Joe Biden speaking this hour from Delaware, his first speech to the nation after becoming the projected winner of the election. He and Vice President-elect Harris speaking at an outdoor drive-in event in Wilmington. The U.S. set a record of nearly 127,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in a single day on Friday, cases spiking in regions across the country. Orange County, Florida is one of them, and the virus is not being spread at just big gatherings. Laura Greenberg, a Fox TV affiliate, WOFL, reports from Orlando.
This first came up because there was talk about was this spike from Halloween, but they said no, it doesn't seem to be from any big event, just a lot of mini, small gatherings that have happened in the last couple of weeks, and now they're concerned with the holidays moving forward. And so health officials say if you do plan on getting together in a group, at least have it be a smaller group rather than a large group, still social distance, still wear your mask.
While waiting to interview for a web consultant position with local marketing firm Bizco, applicant Ryan Ehrlich told Onion reporters he wasn't entirely sure he was dynamic enough for his prospective employer.
When I first saw that the agency was looking for a leader willing to contribute as a valued member of the team, I thought I was the perfect fit. But the more I think about it, the less I'm sure I'm actually an energetic self-starter. I mean, I think I'm a versatile independent thinker, but honestly, how do you even know for sure?
Ehrlich, who found Bizco's online job posting earlier this week, went on to express doubts that he truly possesses the forward-thinking instincts and next-generation idea assets required to work with the fast-paced marketing firm's team of self-starters.
Can I reimagine a brand for a digital landscape? Sure, but do I really have the energy, skills, enthusiasm, and passion to be a part of this dynamic, growth-oriented company? I just don't know. Oh God, who am I kidding? There's no way I'm on the cutting edge.
This is the Onion News Network.
A new report from the Department of Health and Human Services urges Americans to do something, anything at all. According to the study, getting off your ass and doing any sort of physical or mental activity could have positive health effects.
Look, we're not expecting you to go to the gym. That's clearly not happening. Just walk outside for a few blocks and then come back home. You can bring potato chips if that's what it'll take.
For many years, the health department has encouraged Americans to watch less TV, but this report reverses that, saying, quote, watch whatever the hell you want, but at least pay attention and remember who the characters are, or just admire the colors. Colors are pretty. It's expected that following the advice in this report will cut down on the largest cause of death among Americans, laying on your back until your mouth fills up with saliva and you drown. Following the report's release, the most popular exercise now seems to be masturbating, but researchers warn that if you do it in public, stick to the sidewalk or you might get hit by cars.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up anything you want here. Our toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We also have our Matrix chat server, and you can join that over at chat.lrn.fm. That's where you can get the step-by-step instructions on how to join us there. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And the captain.
And Mark.
If you're just tuning in, we've been talking about secession. It's actually a story that was published in the Washington Times back in February, so before the election. In fact, we've talked about secession for years here on Free Talk Live, so I don't want somebody just tuning in to think, oh, you don't like Biden, huh? No, we talked about this when Trump got elected and when Obama got elected and so on, and quite a few times in between as well. Because remember, back in 2012, Obama got elected, and there was like this... There was like a website that they put up where you could petition the federal government, the White House, to get an answer from Obama on a question.
Yeah.
And Texas got like 100,000 signatures, or Texans or whatever.
They hit the number that was required in order to get the president to answer whatever. I think it was change.org.
Whatever they called it.
The petition.
WhiteHouse.gov or .com or
whatever it was.
Whatever. And so it was a secession question, and Barack Obama's answer was, well, we settled that with the Civil War or something like that.
Right. Right. I mean,
tough talk.
The president will answer your question. Well, yeah, but it won't be a good answer. It won't be a thoughtful answer.
It's a threat.
It's just a threat.
Yeah.
I just, hey, if you don't like the United States government, we'll kill you.
Well, that said, this particular guy writing the story over at Washington Times, his name is F.H. Buckley. He is a professor at Scalia Law School and the author of American Secession, The Looming Threat of a National Breakup. He's saying that he doesn't think they would roll in tanks. It's just untenable for a lot of different reasons, and we can get back into it coming up here. But John is on the line in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. You're on Free Talk Live, John.
Oh, yeah, Harrisburg.
Harrisburg. They left out the R. I apologize. Go ahead.
It's all good. Yeah, I just had 2 points to bring up. Number one, that all the Q people on the internet, also known as Q-tards, were all wrong. And,
Again. They've been wrong quite a few times, right? Like this whole Q thing is supposedly some insider within
soap
the
opera,
government.
And all I can tell you is whenever I get a box from Amazon, whenever I get a box from Amazon, I quickly open it up in case there's a kidnapped child in there.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, well, there's a little
Q
bit
was
of
suggesting
stuff that was in there, but
Q was suggesting that very expensive like cabinets.
Oh, the Wayfair.
Oh, that was Wayfair. Yeah,
the Wayfair cabinets.
Some companies selling. It was ridiculous.
Children. Yes, it was ridiculous.
So many ridiculous conspiracy theories. But John, what else did you want to share?
Some weird stuff in the emails of John Podesta. That was for sure.
There's some weird stuff out there, no doubt about that.
Yeah, for sure. What else did you want to say about these people?
Well, I just wanted to point out that they were wrong, and I was wondering how they're going to deal with it. But anyway, my other point was I think the best way to secede from the Union is to form our own societies within the state, such as like all the they had different societies back in the early 1800s with the different Christian societies, such as the Quakers and a bunch of other ones.
Yeah, the Shakers are probably even a better example than the Quakers. Quakers did have
they had that one little flaw that didn't work out for them.
The flaw that they weren't having sex?
Right.
That one?
Yeah.
It's a big problem.
Yeah.
But
aren't there like 2 Shakers left or something like that?
Yeah, there's like 2 old women. By the way, here's an idea, folks. Become a Shaker and you inherit all that land.
So, John, thank you, man. Anything else? Go ahead.
No, that's everything.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the call tonight. Let's go to Chris Cantwell calling us from jail. Chris is on the line here, and you're in Stratford County Correctional awaiting sentencing on being a political prisoner. Go ahead, Chris. Oops, hang on. Let me try unmuting the phone. That would help. We got you now.
WTSN 98.1. It's good to be with you.
WTSN, one of the elite stations that actually airs Free Talk Live all 7 nights a week, all 3 hours per night. Out there in Dover, New Hampshire, out on the seacoast. Go ahead.
That's right, yeah. And I just finished listening to Joe Biden's acceptance speech. And, all I have to say is, move over Pearl Harbor, good night 9/11. These things seem small in comparison to the coming Biden presidency.
Do you really think that Biden being president is going to be that meaningful? I mean, what about Barack Obama? He was in there for 8 years, and nothing really happened.
Look at the damage that Barack Obama did.
What was that damage?
I'd say it was rather profound. I
okay,
mean, if it wasn't for
excluding
that,
the first 100 days. What did he manage to do?
Wait a minute. When you say nothing really happened under Barack Obama, are you ignoring the thousands and upon thousands of immigrants who were thrown in jail cells, the bombs, the countless bombs that were dropped all across the Middle East? How about Kim.com being raided down in New Zealand, which Joe Biden was directly behind and responsible for that? How about Ross Ulbricht and all of his successors being targeted on the dark
continued
web?
growth of the prison system.
I mean, what do you mean nothing happened?
Okay. Nothing different happened. How's that?
I seem to remember the name Edward Snowden coming up during this
That's right.
Absolutely. But, I mean, if you look at Bush's administration, you look at Clinton's, I mean, for God's sakes, Ruby Ridge happened under Clinton. There's all
what I'm saying is that things get progressively worse in
Right.
America when Donald Trump loses, I guess is what I mean to convey. And so I don't think that this was a legitimate election. I think it was stolen. But I haven't recently been given a great deal of reason to have faith in the legal system. I hope to God that Donald Trump's lawsuits uncover this fraud and undo
as far
the
as I'm
results of the election.
concerned, all of the elections are fraudulent.
Yeah,
I mean, I get that, but at the same time, like we're talking, elections are fraudulent things, you could say, inherently. How do you vote to give someone rights that you don't have, et cetera, et cetera?
Precisely.
This is, standard libertarian fodder. But I mean, in the sense that, like, I don't believe for 1 second that this many people voted for Joe Biden. I mean, who in their right mind believes that Joe Biden, of all people, got the record number of votes for president?
There sure as hell weren't very many people out at his campaign events. Now, one could argue that, they're afraid of COVID, but that wasn't true when it came to the BLM protests. People were.
It wasn't true when it came to BLM protests. It wasn't true when it came to Antifa rioting. It's not true right now while they're out making out with strangers in the streets of New York City. Okay? That whole entire thing was a big scam. It's like, we got to make life miserable under the Trump administration so that people will vote for change on November 3rd. That was literally how simple the whole COVID panic was.
Well, you certainly won't get me to say that everything's on the up and up with this particular election, but I got some questions about Donald Trump that I'd like answered. If you're there crying a river while you're in jail under the Trump administration, mind you, by the feds, why didn't Donald Trump pardon Julian Assange?
Well, I don't know that was the appropriate thing for Donald Trump to do, frankly. And,
he might now.
By the way, even if it is, I don't think that it was his highest priority. Donald Trump came into that office, and he was immediately met with this nonsense that he was some kind of Russian spy, and he had to try to battle that off. I mean, there's a lot of things that I would have liked Donald Trump to do, but the well-being of Julian Assange is really at the bottom of my list of priorities.
It's perhaps at the bottom of the list of your priorities, but I said that I would vote for Donald Trump if he pardoned any one of Julian Assange, Ross Ulbricht, or Edward Snowden. And I know that there are many libertarians out there, and Donald Trump could use all the votes he could get right now.
Are we convicted felons allowed to vote in New Hampshire?
Yes.
Yes.
You're allowed to.
Well, that's good. I wish I had known that. I would have voted.
After you've served the time, you can't do it during.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. I guess I can understand everybody's got their priorities, but I mean, Donald Trump was doing a pretty good job of making America great again, even while Democrat governors worked to destroy their own economies and make their own people suffer and die, just to make the COVID thing look worse because they thought that was a good political strategy. Now those people are in control of the White House, and that's going to be a bad thing. And you better hope that they don't steal those 2 Senate seats come that runoff in January, because if they have a Democrat president, a Democrat Senate, and a Democrat White House, then we are going to have tough times, ladies and gentlemen.
Secession
really
now.
bad.
Thank you, Chris, for the call tonight. I appreciate it. As we continue here, your calls and thoughts, you can bring up whatever is on your mind. We got more about secession on the way here. A few more thoughts from the law school professor, F.H. Buckley, author of American Secession, the looming threat of a national breakup. It can't happen soon enough, and that was true 10 years ago. More on the way. This is Free Talk Live.
News from news.bitcoin.com. A 1 million ounce gold find in Russia raises questions if Bitcoin is more rare than gold. The Bitcoin market is expected to be volatile until the end of the year. Study shows that half of U.S. investors interested in adding Bitcoin to their portfolio. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Every year, over 1 million fires burn in America. Fortunately, firefighters are on the job, saving life and property, and you can be a part of it. 7 out of 10 firefighters and emergency responders are volunteers. There's no typical firefighter. Anyone can volunteer to serve their community. Volunteering as a first responder is really about having the heart and drive to make a difference where it's needed most. Your community needs you. Are you ready to answer the call? Learn more and find local volunteer opportunities at makemeafirefighter.org.
Freedom! Freedom is the call of the untamed Scotsman and all others that want to feel the wind under their kilts.
At Free Talk Live, we love the breezy, swinging feeling that only a kilt from Sport Kilt can give.
We teamed up with Sport Kilt to let you experience their form of freedom at a discount. Go to kilts.freetalklive.com and see a picture of Richie and me in our kilts.
And then head over to sportkilt.com. Get some stylish freedom for yourself and use code FTL for a 10% discount. Sportkilt.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
This is novelist Tom Robbins. When my mother was diagnosed with glaucoma, her conservative Virginia physician told her there was only one treatment that might ease her pain and save her eyesight. That treatment was medical marijuana, which he could not prescribe. I offered to get her some and teach her how to use it effectively, but my father objected because marijuana was against the law. So my mother, who loved to read and walk in nature, was condemned to grow cruelly, unnecessarily blind. Tragedies like this happen all the time, but they don't have to keep happening. To learn more about medical marijuana, call the Marijuana Policy Project at 1-877-JOIN-MPP or visit them on the web at mpp.org.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
3 Talk Live, dial in, bring up what you want. Right here, our number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. In the studio, it's Ian.
The captain.
And Mark.
And want to make sure that you know about AnyPay 2.0. It is here, and crypto payments are faster than ever. In fact, it's hard to imagine how they could be any faster than AnyPay 2.0, because when I pay with my Edge wallet, it usually says paid on the receiving screen before Edge wallet sometimes even says that it was sent.
Yeah. Like folks used to compare crypto payments to credit and debit cards with the point of sale.
Now there's no comparison.
There is no comparison. Particularly this past Sunday, I paid for my dinner with BCH using the AnyPay system at a local place here.
BCH being Bitcoin Cash.
That's right, yeah.
And it was done in exactly as you describe it.
Bam,
Yeah,
done.
it's so fast.
So whether you're using Edge Wallet, Handcash, Bitcoin.com's wallet, or Dash Wallet, you're going to have a smooth experience. If you're using another wallet, your mileage may vary, and some of them don't work at all, including Koinomi, including Exodus, and I'm a fan of Exodus. I like that wallet a lot, but unfortunately it just does not work with AnyPay 2.0, and that's because AnyPay 2.0 is newer payment technology, and the other wallets just honestly haven't caught up yet. They're honestly years behind. When I say newer, I mean like circa 2015. It's a new tech that not every wallet has enabled. And so what we want you to help with, if you're a user of Koinomi, if you're a user of Exodus, RelayX, Bread Wallet, they've got contact information over on AnyPay's website. You can go to anypayinc.com/upgrade. anypayinc.com/upgrade. You can learn more about why it is that there's this incompatibility. They kind of explain it to you. And then you can contact the programmers of your favorite wallet and say, hey, I like your wallet, but I'd really like to be able to use it to make payments, not just hold crypto or send some crypto to your friends here and there, but to actually use in real life to buy things in reality or on the web. So they can help you do that. And the more people that let these programmers know that this is important to them, the more likely they're going to pay attention.
I did it.
And take it seriously. Did you? Who'd you contact?
Koinomi.
Excellent. Did they get back to you?
No.
So they also recommend that leaving a review on the Google App Store definitely gets attention because they want to have their reviews being good. So
I was having a difficult time figuring that out.
Yeah. Well, there's different options in how you can do it. So go to anypayinc.com/upgrade. As we continue here with a story from WashingtonTimes.com, it's about secession and the opinion from F.H. Buckley, who wrote the book American Secession, The Looming Threat of a National Breakup. Mark, you mentioned off the air, apparently you interviewed this guy on Edgington Post.
Multiple times.
So it must have been pretty interesting then.
Yeah, he's great. He
knows his stuff.
One of the interviews was about how the United States system of sort of republicanism is the best way to describe it. Has not exported well historically, whereas the parliamentary system has. I brought up some things I've heard here on the air about the parliamentary system being sort of resulting in more liberal governments worldwide. Mr. Buckley countered that likely those governments would be more liberal even if they had our system. So,
he says
he's a brilliant man.
And he says, counter to what you were saying earlier, Mark, because you were worried about breaking up the United States being very inconvenient, he says countries that are smaller are happier, freer, and less corrupt. So it seems like a real good idea to get out.
The majority of people in the world don't travel as much as I do. So I live basically between two places. My son goes to school in Florida, and I live up here in New Hampshire. And then don't forget my residency over in Saipan. I do a bit more traveling than the average person. Most people in the world, I can't remember what the percentage is, but will live and die within 50 miles of where they were. Will die within 50 miles of where they were born.
Well, whether or not there's a gigantic federal government, I don't think should matter as far as your convenience in your life.
Systems tend to grow larger as this world grows smaller through communication. You can expect to see more and more federations, agreements,
but we're seeing
contracts.
Secession. We're seeing the UK secede.
Didn't you also mention something about somebody, or you had read or surmised that somehow the smallest unit of governance would be maybe even at the county level?
Oh, I'd love to see something like that. But that would be more of the monopoly form. See, what you guys do is you hear governance and you immediately clam up.
No, there's a difference between governance and government.
Okay. So immediately you would mention Brexit. UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand are all currently working on a federation right now that would allow free trade and free movement.
Aren't they already part of the Crown?
Yeah, but they don't have free trade and free movement in the same way.
Between the four of them?
Not in the same way. Huh. This is they're making their own union, and why wouldn't the United States be involved in that? Wouldn't you want that? I mean, imagine for a second.
No, I don't want a big government.
That's not a big government.
Well, that's how it turned out. Here in the United States, that's exactly how it turned out.
Agreed. Do you think that people can make mistakes and then learn from those mistakes and do something better in the future?
Not governments. I think they always suck and they get bigger and more oppressive, so no.
Well, I think that
look at the U.S. government. It was an attempt to do something differently, to do something better, and it became one of the world's superpowers and dominant forces, killing innocent people across the world and hunting down innocent, peaceful people.
It's
sick.
Certainly, the United States government has killed millions in the last several decades.
I want to go back to the story here from the Washington Times. We don't need to be big to defend ourselves, he writes. He says, as it is, we spend more on the military than the next 21 countries put together.
Ooh, that number's even grown now.
This is from February of this year. In his farewell address, George Washington said that we were happily isolated from Europe and all its wars, and that hasn't changed. If California were to break away, who is going to invade it? Granted, we don't want to see customs barriers erected between the states after a breakup, which is what you were concerned with, Mark.
Yeah,
but
California...
if that's what bothers you, then you want a customs union, not a country. And we won't want to need a passport to visit Disneyland, but then Europeans don't need that either when traveling between different countries in the European Union. And here's the kicker. This time, secession would be politically correct. It's progressive California that wants to opt out of our immigration laws. Tell them that if they secede and stop paying their share of the military budget, they'll save enough to fund their own national health care. And then pose the same question to them when President Trump is reelected. Didn't happen. Or maybe. We'll see. And has a few more nominations for the Supreme Court. Or now tell the Trumpers the same thing. Hey, you guys don't want Biden? Start talking about secession and start taking this idea seriously. Forget MAGA, he says. Let's make America small again.
Massa.
That's ironic.
Yes, Massa.
Whoops.
Yes to Massa.
Unfortunate acronyms here on Free Talk Live.
So that's the story there from F.H. Buckley.
Yeah,
I love it. I support it.
So
Let's do it.
You were talking about free trade agreements, and it occurs to me that this is what a free trade agreement should sound like. You are free to trade with anybody for any reason.
That's it. Simple.
I think that you'd probably be better off, if I may go so far, as to have an agreement with nations that...
Nations don't exist.
Yes, they do.
They're just ideas.
Yeah, well, marriages don't exist. Lots of things exist in language. Mm-hmm. Saying that something exists in language and then doesn't exist is...
There are people who believe in nations who will kill you over their belief system.
Right, things exist in language.
There's nothing such a thing as a nation.
Laws,
like... Words on paper. Laws are just words on paper written by strangers.
So many things in our lives exist in the form of language.
Laws are just opinions backed by men with guns. That's all. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And they obviously don't apply to those men with the guns, as we've learned. This is Free Talk Live.
News from news.bitcoin.com. A 1 million ounce gold find in Russia raises questions if Bitcoin is more rare than gold. The Bitcoin market is expected to be volatile until the end of the year. Study shows that half of U.S. investors interested in adding Bitcoin to their portfolio. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Divi's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the value soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divi's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to diviproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from diviproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. diviproject.org. DIVI project.org.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. As our contract with our satellite provider is coming up for another 3-year renewal, I have to consider calling it quits. It's rare that we get feedback or support from our satellite users. We started a fundraiser a few years ago, and though there are a bunch of great contributors to it, as of this recording, it covers 15% of our monthly satellite costs. Please email lrn@lrn.fm and tell me how you use the satellite feed. Better yet, chip in at fund.lrn.fm. The costs aren't the issue. We can afford them, but why continue something not valued by the market? Want to help? You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. Fund.lrn.fm.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can take control of the airwaves here, the live Saturday edition of the show. Bring up whatever you want. Our toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. Tonight, it's Ian here.
The captain.
And Mark.
The Matrix chat server. Turns out we screwed a little bit of the settings up when we set up the server, and we made it so that when you create a new channel, a public channel, that there was no way to do it in a unencrypted way. So the nice thing about the Matrix server is it has an encryption ability, so you can have, like, you know, some secrecy if you would like.
Doesn't sound screwed up yet.
Your chat. But the problem is it wasn't an option for you to turn it off. So if you wanted to have an unencrypted channel, you couldn't. And that has resulted in some frustrations. Mark, there was an issue with your client at one point where you would connect. It wouldn't show you all the back messages in the server, or it wouldn't show you any of the new messages because they were all still encrypted. So it gets a little complicated sometimes. And so we're going to scuttle all the public channels on the server later tonight. We're just going to get rid of them all. And we've set the server up so now you can actually create unencrypted channels. So we're going to recreate all of the default channels on the server as unencrypted.
Does everybody have to reload their private keys and stuff?
No, you shouldn't have to do that. It shouldn't affect any of the actual users. It'll just delete all the channels, and then we'll start from scratch basically with unencrypted channels by default. And that'll mean that the channel creators, you can still create your own channels. Everybody with a private encrypted channel, this will not affect them. But the public channels, will just delete them all, and then you can recreate them as unencrypted. If you want to encrypt the channel, you will still have that option, but by default they will be unencrypted, and that means that it'll be easier for people to get in and out and read the chats. It'll be a smoother process for newbies on the server, at less of a learning curve, and that just means we have to get rid of all the existing channels first. So that's just giving you a heads up that that's going to happen probably after the show is over tonight. So
you do love to mess with these BBSs and chat rooms and stuff like that. You can't leave well enough alone.
It's not well enough. It needs to get better.
And with software, if you do accidentally not check the right box or uncheck a box you needed to have checked, sometimes the easiest route is to uninstall and reinstall.
Well, in this case, we don't have to go that far. The server will not be uninstalled.
Right.
It's just the rooms will be scuttled. And again, it won't affect private rooms. So if you've got a private room talking to somebody or a few somebodies, then that will stay.
I refer to it as rip and rebuild. So
yeah, that's what we're going to do. Make it better. You got to break it down to build it up again.
That's right.
That's all. To build it better. All right. So we're going to continue here. Your calls and thoughts. We go to David. He's in New Mexico listening to KINN. And then coming up, we'll talk about a dead man who got elected. Go ahead, David.
Hey, you two, get a room.
There's 3 here. Go ahead.
Private room. Oh, you're going to have a threesome? Okay. Well, to each his own. Well, first of all, I sent an email to the stepfather that is charged with beating up my son.
Oh, boy.
But since so I sent him an email half a week ago, and he didn't respond, although I don't know why, because me sending him an email may or may not be a violation of a court order, and he could get me cited for contempt. So I don't know why he doesn't seize that opportunity. And since he didn't respond to the email, and public record, that's Kurt Elich. Kurt with a K, E-L-I-C-H.
Allegedly.
Public record. No, it's factual. It's in you can read it for yourself in the court record right this minute by going on the internet. You can see the felony charges against him. And anyway, so he didn't respond to my email, so I sent a text a few hours ago. Hasn't responded.
So
to that
you
either.
Want to get charged with contempt of court? Is that the idea?
Because I'm thinking going on national radio and talking about this sounds like a horrible idea.
Aren't you snarky? Actually, that would set up it's their move. Put it that way. If you want to call it a chess game, yeah, it's a chess game. It can go either way. This dude who's dragged me through courts for a decade beat up my son and is charged for it. So if he wants to pay his lawyer $300 to file a motion for contempt, bring it on. That would be a fun federal court case. That would be fun. So yes. Bring it on, Kurt Elich. Bring it on.
All right, there you go. Tough talk from David. Thanks for the call tonight. We go to another tough talker, James in Arizona. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello. Except he's way more drunk. Go ahead, James. Going once.
Oh, that's so funny. I'm drunk.
You're awfully slow on the pickup there, bro.
I got other things. I didn't expect to be taken on by so-called ministers or anybody's welcome to call in. And unlike a convicted felon that the FBI rightfully and 12 of my peers had put in prison, this isn't the highlight of my day. Is he going to continue doing that for the years he's in prison?
You're referring to Christopher Cantwell?
Isn't it funny that nobody calls him a lunatic or makes fun of him being convicted of threatening people?
Well, he doesn't threaten people.
And never will do.
Yeah. James, I'd like to point out that the threats that you've made against all of the hosts on this show are far, far worse than anything I've seen on the evidence of Mr. Cantwell.
Right, Cantwell has ugly opinions, that's for sure. I mean, he is a racist, and I hope that ultimately he changes his mind about that at some point in his life, but he has not threatened people. He did have an argument with somebody over the internet at one point, and he said he was going to F his wife in front of his children, but that wasn't, in my opinion, a threat.
Whereas James Wittekind, as I like to call him,
tough talk.
Neither witty nor kind, has threatened, well, almost every host on this show in some way, shape, or form, and yet remains a free man.
It's true. Thank you for the call tonight, James. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. So it's happened again, Captain. Another dead man elected to a national office after, posthumously.
Well, and we've heard throughout the election and elections before this one, or the selection, I should call it, that dead people are voting. People who have long been deceased have cast votes somehow. And so,
well, far more of them they're complaining about just sort of being on the voter rolls, which, of course, it's okay if they're on the voter rolls as long as they're not voting, but we'll see.
It stands to reason, then, that a dead man should be elected. This from Politico.com. GOP state legislator candidate in North Dakota who died of COVID wins the election. David Andal was 55 when he died on October 5th. A Republican in North Dakota, he won the seat in the state legislature nearly a month after he died of complications after contracting COVID-19.
55 is young to die of COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it said complications. So David Andal was 55 when he died October 5th after winning a heated primary with an incumbent committee chairman. Senator Kevin Cramer has endorsed the Bismarck rancher, saying, "We need more Trump Republicans in the state legislature." Democrats nationwide have gone into Election Day believing that the White House's haphazard handling of the coronavirus pandemic would hurt Republican chances at the ballot boxes, only to be stunned when the Project Blue Wave never materialized. North Dakota has seen a dramatic surge in cases over the last month. It now leads the country in the number of new cases, according to the COVID tracking project. And
no, they're talking about cases, not deaths.
Right.
That's the new thing.
Yeah, of course. They stopped talking about deaths months ago.
Because the deaths are
somehow
insignificant.
It switched to cases, and everybody just went, yeah, the numbers are going up, even though they completely changed.
Well, because more people are being tested, because there's all kinds of forced testing going on. So there's way more tests being done. So, of course, more cases are coming up. That doesn't mean that they're in any way bad cases. It doesn't mean that they're in any way dangerous or whatever.
If you use 60,000 deaths per week, and that's as you know, I mean, there are weeks in the United States when prior to COVID that more than 60,000 people died. If you use that as sort of the upper limit of what an emergency is, COVID stopped being an emergency back in August.
It was never an emergency.
If not before, I mean, I would think. But yeah, if you use those numbers, sure.
There's a significant deviation from excess deaths earlier this year, from March through August in the United States. I mean,
Well, Andal and another Republican won the 2 seats for state representatives from North Dakota's 8th district, with Andal taking nearly 36% of the vote. So he won.
Congratulations.
By quite a margin, despite not being among the living.
Last time this happened that I recall was the year 2000. It was Governor Mel Carnahan who died before he went up against Republican John Ashcroft for the U.S. Senate. And Carnahan beat Ashcroft after he had died.
How'd they handle it?
This had happened before. They'll probably just appoint somebody.
I think he should be allowed to.
More coming up. Free Talk Live.
When you have a pain in the neck, a real pain in the neck, back, shoulder, or legs, you now have 2 convenient choices to get fast relief without taking another pill. Because now, Sunny Bay heating wraps and pillows are available at both Amazon and Walmart. Yes, see Sunny Bay's 4.5 to 5-star customer reviews on Amazon.com or Walmart.com. Our made in the USA microwavable heat wraps, heatable neck pillows, and extra large body wraps are designed better for perfect support where and when you need it. Even while driving, Sunny Bay wraps will not burn and stay balanced to provide soothing hot or cold therapy to help treat temporary or chronic pain. And the best part? Sunny Bay quality products start at under $20. Join thousands of happy customers and see why Sunny Bay products have a lifetime 100% positive rating on both Amazon and Etsy. It's easy. Click Amazon or Walmart and search today for Sunny Bay.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they are able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less.
800-215-1727. 800-215-1727. That's 800-215-1727.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing to be able to move to a place where other people like passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Moments remain. Enough time for you if you dial in now. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And Free Talk Live is going to be once again at Fork Fest in 2021. Woohoo! We had a great Fork Fest this year. It was the 4th annual Fork Fest this year. So
the fork are you talking about?
Next year it will be the 5th annual Fork Fest, and you can join us and join maybe hundreds of others. We don't know how many people are going to show up over at Rogers Campground June 28th through July 4th. So go ahead and mark your calendar now, June 28th through July 4th in 2021. What better way to celebrate Independence Day than to be around other freedom-loving activists here in the Shire? And you can register your campsite, your RV site, or your motel room with Rogers Campground. Even though it's coming up the wintertime, they're going to be a little inaccessible at Rogers Campground. They don't do much during the winter. They close it down. But from what I understand, they do check their messages from time to time, and so you should be able to still go ahead and lock in your campsite for next summer. That's June 28th through July 4th. Forkfest.party is a website you can go to learn more about the event. That's forkfest.party, and you can connect with the Forkfest Telegram chat room, the Forkfest forum. These are all unofficial websites. There's no official anything. There's no organizers. There's no ticket price. It is a decentralized libertarian camping festival. It's forkfest.party. Let's go to Moses. He's calling from Columbia, South Carolina, listening to WQXL. Go ahead, Moses.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
What's on your mind?
Listen, first of all, I'd like to say kudos to Joe Biden. You know why?
Why's that?
Because this country needs to get back on track as for what we've been trying to strive for through all these years with all the problems that this country has gone through.
Well, when you say back on track, what are you referring to?
Well, here's one thing. First, I'm going to ask you a question, man.
All right.
You guys must have lost your minds, okay? And I'll tell you the reason why I say that, okay? You got 51 states. Okay, in the United States. Are you with me?
What's the 51st?
The 51st, I think it's Hawaii or Alaska, whichever. Okay.
Close. It was. I think Alaska was what, number
49. Hawaii was
50. Don't get sarcastic. Let's stay on track.
Go ahead.
Don't stay on point with what we're talking about.
All right.
Okay?
You confused me there for a second, though.
No, I didn't confuse you. You just want to be sarcastic. Okay?
All right.
But what my point here is, you got 51 states in the United States, and you're talking about division. All right, you guys are I would say recruiting exactly what Donald Trump was on point or was on track to try to do.
Donald Trump wasn't. Donald Trump wasn't a secessionist. He was opposed to secession.
Listen to me, my friend. Let's go to California. You was talking about California being the first state to make that move. Right?
Yeah, they're talking about it.
They've got a proposal up.
Okay, they may be talking about it. That's fine. They can talk about it. Okay, but you think about this. Let's say California put it in motion, and all the other 50 states stand back and watch as how would you say progress or whatever the case may be, and it have progress, and it seems to be working.
Yeah.
Okay, then you have a state like, let's say, New York to follow suit, whatever.
Yeah, New Hampshire,
anything.
Texas,
and then New Hampshire,
Vermont,
whatever. But even
Hawaii.
Before you know, you got But hear me. Before you know it, you got 10 states that follow suit with California.
Hell yeah!
All right? Now, mind now, don't forget about we are the biggest enemies throughout the whole world. Don't forget about Iran, Iraq.
Iran
China,
is not a
North
threat to
Korea,
New Hampshire.
Russia. Hold on. Listen to what I'm trying to say to you, brother.
Right.
Okay. What my point here is, okay, let's say when all these so-called states have called themselves being established to being independent, so-called, what do you think the enemy is going to do? You know the first place they're going to attack?
Which enemy?
The U.S. All of these enemies throughout these that hate the United States.
They're not going to attack a state if it's not part of the United States.
Where are they going to attack,
My
Moses?
friend, the damage is already done, is what I'm trying to get you to understand. It doesn't matter how we might separate or try to separate. We are known as the United States throughout the world.
Well, we
It
won't
doesn't
be
matter
when we
what do.
leave. When New Hampshire
But the
says
damage is
goodbye. No, hold on. Now, Moses, let me explain something to you. When New Hampshire says goodbye, when California says goodbye to the United States, that will be world news. People around the world, there will be headlines everywhere that have said the U.S. is breaking up. It's over. And so there will be no more United States, at least not that we know of.
That's the whole point. Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. That's the whole point, my friend.
I'm not scared.
I wanted to hear your scenario, Moses. My cohort here is just so on the job when it comes to secession. You've said something against secession. I can't say it. Right?
No, that's not how I'm responding.
That's what you like. I wanted to hear what your scenario was. Can you tell me?
It's invasion. He already said that.
Where?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I'm saying.
But
and
where?
Look,
See?
I would much rather, me, myself, personally, I would much rather, with all that the United States has gone through, all the troubles that it has had, through slavery, civil war, all this stuff, all the problems that we've had, I would much rather try to come together and make our.
It's not happening, dude. No one's coming together in the United States anymore.
It seems like it's farther apart than ever.
I tell you one thing. All you guys got to do is sit back and wait, because the first place they're going to attack is Washington, D.C.
Good.
And when
they deserve it.
When they attack, but hold on, no. When they attack Washington, D.C., and these 10 states see the damage that has been caused, and we are divided. We are divided. Now we're in World War III now.
I'm not worried about
and
it.
then
Not worried about it. New Hampshire is a very well-armed place. I don't know about California. Don't really care. But New Hampshire can take care of itself, and I suspect some of the southern states would be able to take care of themselves. Montana, Wyoming, a lot of those northern flyover states.
Notice what you said. The southern states. You're going back to the 13 colonies. That's basically what you're counting on, okay? The 13
The South will rise again, my friend.
It ain't gonna work like that, my friend. You think it's gonna work like that if you want. Look at it, and everybody's saying
if somebody invades Washington, D.C., I mean, I'll feel bad for the poor bastards that live in Washington, D.C., but they should have gotten out of there a long time ago. At least then they'd be targeting the place where it deserves it, because that's where the government is. That's where the evil is located. And you know what? I'm not going to be shedding any tears for Washington, D.C. You can burn it to the ground as far as I'm concerned.
What if Russia, Iran, and Iraq, throw China in there too, all decides at one time to invade America while we are
What's the point of that?
Of all this division.
First of all, China, we're their best customer. Why would they benefit from? Why would they benefit from invading their best customer?
Well, you see, that's the whole point, my friend, to take over.
But that costs a ton of money. It costs a ton of lives. It costs a ton of resources to take over a landmass the size of the United States. It's not even a possibility.
Yeah, I disagree with Moses' assessment here, but I do think that he's got a point that in the vacuum of the lack of a superpower that you will see, probably China.
Did China invade Russia when Russia broke, the USSR,
Nope.
when they broke up?
Nope, they didn't, but I can assure you they're
Did
not
the United
friends.
States invade
China
them?
is currently invading Russia right now.
Huh?
China is invading all of of its surrounding neighbors and taking a little bit of land.
China's invading Russia?
Yes, it's happening.
Well, they've been doing that here in the United States, too. I mean, they're buying land.
They're buying
Is
land
that
up.
what you mean? They're buying land, or they're invading militarily?
They're not invading militarily. They're just moving. They're like a property owner that moved their shed over a little bit on your side.
Okay, but are they really actually doing that? Or
yes.
Here's my point. My whole point is, I think it's a really bad idea for the United States to separate and break up. I think that's going to be the end of the United States.
Well, I think it will be the end of the United States. That's the whole point, Moses. Why would you want to keep this thing going? It's a failure.
I'm not talking. No, when I say United States, I'm not talking about the separation of the independence of each state. I'm talking about the United States as a country.
Yeah, end that crap. Why would you want to be under the control of someone like Donald Trump?
Well, that's the whole point, my friend. You see, that's what I'm trying to say. I would much rather go back to somebody like Joe Biden.
But after Joe Biden, there's going to be another Republican at some point. You know that's the case. It just keeps switching back and forth, and then they keep using the violence that the predecessors have used against you.
One thing about it. Here's the thing right here. First of all, Faith. Okay, we don't know what's going to happen in the next 4 years. All right, but one thing I do know what's going to happen. Opinion, if you know what's happening, I like to see that crystal ball that you're looking at.
Okay, I'll tell you. It's real simple. Here's what's going to happen. The same thing that happened when George Bush was in, the same thing that happened when Barack Obama was in, and the same thing that happened when Trump was in, which was the U.S. government gets bigger, more oppressive, more expensive, more invasive than it ever has before. That's
more
not
murderous.
Yeah, that's not going out on a limb. I don't need a crystal ball to make that prediction. It's not going to get smaller. It's not going to leave people alone. It's not going to shrink its budget. Okay, none of those things are going to happen, and they wouldn't have happened under Trump either. The same things would happen under Trump as will happen under Joe Biden. It doesn't matter, and the only difference is Joe Biden will probably molest somebody's kids. Thanks for the call tonight, Moses. I do appreciate the conversation. If you didn't get in tonight, that's okay.
Holy Moses.
We got another show for you tomorrow night.
You see how I take the position that's opposite yours, and they still say, you guys got to be out of your minds, right? Like it's...
Well, you sounded like you were opposite. You sounded like you were against secession, but then you sounded like you were in favor of it. So you're kind of on both sides of the fence tonight, Mark. You're wishy-washy. We'll see you tomorrow night. Online in the meantime, freetalklive.com. Have a great weekend.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had got involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
The LRN.FM's social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
The latest episode of Questioning Authority is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is a Fox News alert, trying to bring the nation together. I'm Joe Chiaro. President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris appearing together after they became the projected winners of the election. Biden, in the speech from Delaware, saying this is a clear victory.
A convincing victory. A victory for we the people. We've won with the most votes ever cast on a presidential ticket in the history of the nation. 74 million.
Harris opened the event.
When our very democracy was on the ballot in this election, with the very soul of America at stake, and the world watching, you ushered in a new day for America.
Both Biden and Harris promising to help heal and unite the nation. President Trump not conceding, his campaign pushing ahead with legal challenges, including a new one in Maricopa County, Arizona.
Alleging that many in-person votes were rejected because people who overvoted, that is, voted accidentally for two people for the same office, were rejected as opposed to being allowed to correct their ballot. In Nevada, an election worker whose job was to process mail-in ballots says he witnessed irregularities in counting those ballots and was told by a supervisor whom he names to put through ballots he believed needed signature verification without that verification first being done. He says he was also told to ignore discrepancies with addresses. That worker has sworn out an affidavit.
Fox's John Roberts. The campaign's also filing new lawsuits in Pennsylvania on Monday. America is listening to Fox News.
If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you that running a business is tough, but you might be making it harder on yourself than necessary. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. It's time to upgrade to NetSuite. Stop paying for multiple systems that don't give you the information you need when you need it. Ditch the spreadsheets and all the old software you've outgrown. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything you need, all in one place, instantaneously. Whether you're doing 1 million or hundreds of millions in revenue, save time and money with NetSuite. Join the over 21,000 companies using NetSuite.
Let NetSuite show you how they'll benefit your business with a free product tour at netsuite.com/Fox. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
Philadelphia, just one of the cities in the nation where people were on the streets in a party mood over the election of President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. Fox's Tanya J. Powers is in Philadelphia.
I'm at City Hall, and the backdrop includes American flags, Biden-Harris signs, and even a giant eagle. There's music playing and cheering, helicopters overhead. There's police as well as National Guard members nearby. That's a peaceful atmosphere. Some people have taken the president's warning of bad things happen in Philadelphia and turned it into T-shirts.
Because in Philly, we like to take insults and make them our own, so bad things do happen in Philadelphia. We vote out tyrants.
Many are carrying signs, one of them aimed at the president that says, quote, he uninvited the Eagles to the White House, so we returned the favor. At City Hall in Philadelphia, Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Many Trump supporters are voicing their opposition to the results of the election.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
A reclusive deity hasn't written a new book in 2,000 years, and a local rescue dog is adopted for a couple weeks. This is the Onion Week in Review. This week, in a devastating blow to the nation's laundry, 16,000 Americans were reportedly stained during the messiest day in U.S. history. Reports confirm that nearly 3,000 citizens received permanent stains on their good shirt from mustard splatter off a dropped hot dog, along with 12,000 cases of spilled coffee and other dark beverages ruining Americans' pair of hand-wash-only pants. Government officials further indicated that federal assistance for the nation's overwhelmed dry cleaners would be necessary. And in this week's local news, an elderly Rite Aid patron stretches out a conversation about toothpaste to prolong human contact. In other news, artifacts discovered buried in Washington, D.C. suggest humans once passed laws there. A self-centered child blames his parents' divorce entirely on himself. And a night of uninterrupted sleep really throws off a man's entire day.
This is the Onion News Network.
All right, I want the chat to pay attention. I'm beginning right now. I'm starting with 3 shots in my glass. So, yeah. And I'll update, yeah. So keep track of that. So Vincent is starting with 3 tonight. Not starting at 3 because I refrained from all festivities and drinking before the show because it's the right thing to do, first off. And secondly, yeah, we have a
You were on broadcast radio as well.
That's never stopped me before.
Okay.
But no, it's going to be a long night ahead of us. And if I started, and I remember too, right back when Off the Air Live really started to fall apart. You said the issue was we started the show trashed instead of starting to drink, and then by the end of the show, it comes to its natural conclusion. And man, 4 years since then, or I guess technically, 3 years of 3.5 years, but and man, I've learned a lot. That was yeah, and I guess I am ashamed of just how much drinking I did back then on camera and stuff. That is one thing. One of my biggest regrets of college, and I have many, is that I was a legit alcoholic. But yeah, but that's okay. I grew out of it. Some people never grow out of it. And that's why alcohol, the age, there shouldn't be an age, right? Because, you have to learn how to handle your liquor. And then, okay, all right, it's no big deal. You're going to have a drink at a party or have a drink when you're sad or whatever. Instead of these people who, alcohol is this, taboo for their whole, childhood lives. And, parents make such a big deal out of it in society and shit. And, same thing with drugs. And then as soon as they go to college, which is inundated with drugs and alcohol, they just lose their minds and go to the hospital, go to jail, or worse, or yeah. So that's why, and that's the thing too. Quebec is one of the most Quebec has alcohol ingrained in the culture of a province. Yet it has some of the best statistics for underage, or not underage drinking, but alcoholism and youth alcoholism and such. So once again, the state, the government ruins everything. Man,
you're gonna need the alcohol tonight.
Yeah.
It's election night coverage here on Questioning Authority.
Well, yeah. Actually, it's QA.
We already blazed up before the show.
It's QA. It's QA Live now. I'm trying to trick all the QAnon people into following.
Oh.
No. I call it QA Live because I was always self-conscious. This is also the 4-year anniversary show, right? I'm just calling it that. So I'm going to be self-masturbatory and talking about myself a lot when we're not talking about the election results and stuff. And I got to say, I got to give it to whoever's counting all of this, because they waited to build up the suspense for this show, and I got to thank them for that. Thank you, New York Times.
Never get anything significant until way after 10 o'clock because West Coast doesn't even finish until 10 o'clock. But you brought up the QAnon thing. I was at a restaurant recently, one of the Free Stater-owned places.
Oh, it's Kirby Q, the barbecue place?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he had a QAnon shirt at the...
Yeah. They're nice folks. I really like those guys. I don't get the whole Q thing, and they can't really explain it either. The Q followers, they like have these culty things that they say, like one for all for one.
Where
or
we
whatever.
go one, we go all. Yeah.
And has anybody put together a list of all the incorrect predictions that Q has made? Like, people act like he's some sort of, maybe it's a group, some sort of oracle. And it's ridiculous.
There's not enough data in the world to list all of his false predictions.
Right?
But, because I asked him, I saw him and I didn't know who he was. And, I didn't want to be antagonistic, but I just got so fed up with occult behavior from all sides of the ring. And so I went up to him and I said, so those mass arrests are going to happen any minute now. And he actually gave me an answer that I didn't expect. He said, they better. And with what I understood is they better, and the implication was that if not, then he's going to realize he was duped or whatever. The thing about QAnon is like it gives people hope, and they even admit to it. It's called hopium, right? They say, we need to overdose on hopium because, on one end,
Obama dosed people on hope back in the day.
Yeah, but he didn't literally call it hopium, right? And say this is pretty in your face stuff. So Q comes from Q security clearance. They think that, Q is someone in the government feeding this information out about like this major thing and saying like all these good guys who ended up not being good guys and stuff, and saying like Trump is playing 4D chess and trust a plan. And basically what it is a psyop to get people to either not do anything about the tyrannical government, lulling them into a false sense of tranquility, like, the arrests are going to happen any day now. And they even get, that's the thing, if you're ever going to make a scam or make a cult or be a con man, never give a specific date, because you're always going to look like a jackass. You just have to use vagueness and generalities, right? And that's why, and so, but the thing is, I will say about QAnon is that, one, it's woken a lot of people up just to how evil the government is, and two, the message actually, the message that I got from that video I played on QA a while back, the plot to save the world, is that, and it actually got me to change my thinking, that the issue isn't, Muslim versus Christian. It's not capitalist or socialist versus capitalist. It's not, black versus white, right versus left. That people aren't born evil, right? Like,
I don't think so.
And so the reason why we have all these problems in the world isn't because of like other people or that other group. It's because of people called criminals who take advantage of others at their at others' expense. And so we have to stop looking at each other, right? Antifa and the Proud Boys got to stop fighting. Republican Democrats, we all have to stop fighting and turn around and realize that it's these criminals who are running the fucking country and running the world that are the ones who are to blame. But most people just want to be left alone. That's the thing. They just want to be left alone.
Do they?
Most decent people.
Okay. I don't know. I think you might be right. I think most people might want to be left alone, but they just can't stop trying to bug other people. They can't leave other people alone. And because they can't do that, they'll never be left alone.
Yeah, that's true. And it's like with the socialists or communists, right? They want free healthcare. They want UBI, but they